Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. To grab a glass of your favorite wine, get comfortable, and get ready to pour your heart out. Hello, beautiful people. It's your girl, Nini, and I'm back for another episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. We have a really good episode tonight, and I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to get the ladies on panel so that we can go ahead and talk about the real hood of motherhood. So let's go ahead and welcome our beautiful panelists, all beautiful Black mothers with different perspectives on motherhood. What's up, ladies?
Hello.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing?
Good morning.
Where you at, Lex?
It's my first time seeing y'all today, so good morning.
Good morning, girl.
I like that. Morning. How is everyone doing today or tonight?
Oh my God.
Oh, right.
I'm good. A 4-hour nap that was not supposed to happen. That thing was awesome. So yeah.
But that sounds good.
It's rare. So I
don't even know what a 4-hour nap feel like.
Heaven.
Mommy mode 8 this morning. I just left those kids. And baby, wait.
So we'll sip to that.
Oh my God. I've been in mommy mode all day in the sun. Y'all can have those kids.
Let's just say I have to make sure I make this episode. If I don't make no other episode, I have to get on this one.
I'm not on nothing else. Y'all gonna hear me today.
I almost put my crown on.
I was gone. Y'all was like this. I didn't hear anything. I don't know what happened to my computer. Everything was spinning. Y'all saw me?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you weren't doing anything crazy. You cute.
Right. You don't want to be like my backstage prep. So
okay. Everybody, our pre-show, our prep for this show is always an entire show on its own. So one day we're gonna have to record like what goes on behind the scene, our prepping, and we getting cute, getting lighting together, getting our faces on, getting our hairs together, and all of that. So, ladies, tonight we are going to be discussing the real hood of motherhood, because it's a hood. It's ghetto as hell. Before we dive into the hood part, I want us to discuss what were your expectations of motherhood, because you don't know what it's going to be until you get there. But what were your expectations, or what did you hear about motherhood? What were you taught about motherhood before you actually became a mother?
So for me, with my because I was raised. My mother is very present in my life, but primarily I was raised by my grandparents, and just watching my grandmother who lost her mother at such a young age and having her siblings take care of her. And then my mom, when I was growing up, had a drug habit, addiction, or what have you. Um, and I have 4 younger brothers. So just watching, what not to do, I guess, with what my mother did with us, I wanted to incorporate that when I finally did become a mother, the waking the kids up, breakfast and doing all the things and taking them all the places and being their confidant and teaching them and learning from them and doing all these great and wonderful things. And that's what I was taught. Before I go any further, I'll let everybody else.
She said that's what I was taught. All righty.
So
all right, anybody else? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to jump in before Dr. Mia speaks because, she's the professional, so I can't follow that. But for me, getting pregnant at 18 while being a college student, honestly, I was the most ignorant teen mom that probably ever existed. And I admit that to people all the time because I honestly believe that only the ghetto girls got pregnant early. And I did not grow up that way. I was very spoiled. Yeah. I'm an only child. I got basically everything I pointed at or asked for growing up and was never allowed to leave the house. I didn't get to hang out. I don't know what the neighborhood parks are like. If it wasn't Girl Scouts or Mount Olive, I really don't know what was going on in the world until I hit those streets in Tampa. And USF bust me wide open, literally.
Oh, don't share too much on that. We want to hear about that.
I'm just saying, I didn't believe that teen pregnancy could happen to me, but it was more so because the people on that side of the fence, that spoiled side of the fence or that sheltered, they just hid it. They hid it when those girls got pregnant early, and nobody ever told me that. So my experience with becoming a mom so early was very, very green. And I am just surprised my daughter turned out as well as she did. And that's it.
She is amazing. Wow.
I don't think I had any preconceived notions about motherhood. I just saw my mother. My mother was, very, she was very attentive. She was present. She just showed up, whole. Like she just put her all into motherhood. And it was only because later after I learned it was because her marriage was such crap. So she dived in head first into what she could control, and that was being a mom. So I had a really good example of being all in as it relates to motherhood. But it still didn't prepare me for what actually motherhood is. Because then I look at her and I'm like, I don't know how you did it. Like, because I quit. Like, not like quit, but it's hard. It's really hard to keep all of that together and to be in a loveless marriage.
Wow. Yeah. My expectations were, I don't know if I necessarily had expectations, but my mom was there. That's who raised me. So my thing was, you just have this I saw the pretty side of it. Yes. Because she didn't allow us, and now older, I know what the struggle was for her. But at the time, she didn't allow us to see that. So I just saw, you do what you have to do. You have these kids and, you do nice things together. You let them experience things and the toys and all of the fun stuff. And that's what I saw like with my aunts. I have a lot of aunts. So I saw them as mothers. They were like mother figures, but I don't think they were necessarily hiding the other side, but it was like, kids shouldn't have to know about what this is. And then as I got older, I was watching other mothers. So I've only saw, or I guess imagined or wanted to see just the good parts of it. So I didn't have any major expectations, but what I ended up seeing, I didn't expect that either. So maybe that I should have had some more expectations. All righty. I want to hop before we move on. I'm looking at the comments. Mike says lies and hiding make mistakes feel more insurmountable instead of just parts of life. All righty. I like that. And then Trevor wants, I guess, Dr. Mia to define loveless marriage. So before
I
we move
mean,
on, Dr. Mia, if you want to go ahead with that.
when I was young, I didn't see it as a loveless marriage. It's after I got older, I realized it was a loveless marriage. And of course, my mom solidified that by kind of like confessing that it was a loveless marriage. You know, like I never saw my parents interact. Like I didn't see my father hug my mother. I didn't see him tap her on the butt. I didn't see her give her a kiss. Like, you know, and whether they were PDA or not, it was just very mechanical, right? It was just, I'm here, I have a duty, I'm going to do it. And so my father, you know, just did what he was required to do, especially as a Haitian man coming from another country. His objective was just to provide. And, you know, as we talked about in the previous conversations, he didn't know how to be a present father, the whole father, right? You know, he filled in certain parts of it, but he didn't know how to be a whole father and be a husband to his wife and a father to his children and a provider to his family. Like all of those had to be simultaneously working at one time. And he didn't know how to do that.
All right. So Trevor's
Yes,
saying
he
he
kept
kept
the lights on correct.
like,
We're not saying, I'm not saying that he didn't do what he did well, but like I said, he wasn't able to do all three simultaneously, which unfortunately we don't get the option. My mom still had to be a mom to us, feed us, take care of us, and show up. And then when he wanted sex, I'm sure he still wanted sex. You know, they had sex. So it's like she didn't get to turn off certain aspects of who she was, where he was able to turn off certain aspects of who he was or not be able to use it and still go through life.
right. I like that. I like that. Mike. Okay. Mike is a booty tapping fool.
And
You
I'm
can
so
see
sorry, Dr.
my
Mia.
wrist twitch.
I'm not laughing at you. I was
Right, we were not laughing at you. It was that
comment.
comment.
I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
see the
what is
headline.
I was just like,
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
thank you for sharing
All
that.
right. So we talked about what our expectations are. Hold on, I want to turn Legends mic up a little bit. We talked about our expectations prior to becoming mothers. So we know before you are a mother to the child that you've birthed, it all starts in us. What was that experience like? Like it could be from the expectations that you had that were not met. What was your pregnancy experience like? Your first introduction to motherhood. What was that like?
So for me, it was kind of tragic actually. My first introduction. So I ended up pregnant in high school, but not under the best circumstances. And I had a miscarriage. So I was like, okay, Lord, maybe, I don't know. And then I was trying to end that relationship. It got very physical, it got very violent, it got very toxic and vile and all the nasty things. And basically, even though he was my boyfriend at the time, I was still raped and I got pregnant. But I was raised to, we don't believe in abortion, right? Because we're in the church and you don't take a life and that's what you do. So I was like, okay, I'm pregnant. When I walked across the stage, I was 2 months pregnant. And then what ended up happening was when I was about 5 months, I went for a prenatal visit and found out that my daughter had this horrific heart defect where her heart wasn't fully developing properly. So we have two major valves in our heart and we have four chambers, right? So two top, two bottom, two on the left, two on the right. And her left side basically did not develop and the valves didn't separate. So you have blood that goes, from the heart to the lung, and then back around the other way. So she just had one tube or one valve that did not separate, which caused all blood to go into her lungs. So basically she would drown. And again, they wanted me at 5 months to abort. And I was like, no, I'm not aborting. I got faith. I got the mustard seed. I'm good. I'm going to have my baby. And when I had my first daughter, immediately they rushed her to, I had her at Plantation. They rushed her down to Jackson's Children, trauma, high risk. She needed open heart surgery. They told me she would have 4 open heart surgeries by the age of 2. She went through the first one at 4 days old, and she passed right after. So my expectations of pregnancy was not like, we didn't talk about miscarriages. We didn't talk about if the baby don't survive. We don't talk about that part. So when I tell you I was lost and blown away, but we did talk about, you have faith and you have this and you pray and you believe. And I had the faith and I believed and I prayed and my baby's still gone. So it's like, here I am at 18 at a loss. Like, what happens, So for me, it was rough. But then I ended up 3 years later getting pregnant with my daughter who's living now. And that pregnancy, it was pretty textbook, I guess. Like, I had the book What to Expect When Expecting, and pretty much it was very, like they say, you got this, you got that, you did this, you did that. So it was like, oh, okay. So this is what it was. The first pregnancy, I guess, after I found out about, her health, her heart, I didn't I don't know if I mentally checked out of the pregnancy because I was so, hell bent on, well, I don't want to say hell bent, but I was so like obsessed with praying and making sure that God knew that I am faithful, I am a servant, and I want my baby. And, I wasn't really paying attention to at 7 months, this is what happened. At 8 months, your body will feel like that. I had checked out of that part of it. I was more focused on just praying to keep her alive. But then with Alani, I realized all of the steps and all of the things and every month and all the stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So we do have movement. We do have this, but nobody told me about these cravings that you would have. And then you get these cravings, and as soon as you get what you want, you throwing it up, or you don't want it. You sick to your stomach. You can't eat your favorite food no more because the little baby inside you, I was going to call it a thing. The little baby inside you don't want you to enjoy your life. And I should have known then. This book, What to Expect When Expecting, was a lie. Okay, it was a lie. I'm not gonna say it was a lie, but it wasn't. Don't believe the hype. Okay, every pregnancy is different. Everybody gonna go through something different. No 2 pregnancies are identical. Some things we may be like, oh yeah, I had that, and then I had a headache for the first 6 months of pregnancy, like a headache, and there's nothing you can take but Tylenol. And after a while, I felt like the Tylenol didn't work. So here I am, miserable the first 6 months. Finally, I can now eat. I'm eating, and she don't like nothing that I like. So I'm like, you know what? Is this what I got to look forward to? Is this the motherhood? This grandma didn't say this. Mama didn't say. Nobody's aunties didn't say this. Uncle, nobody said nothing. So that was my experience with pregnancy.
I don't think they ever prepare anybody for anything rightfully.
We try. That's all we could do.
Right. They don't prepare you for the bad stuff.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Anybody else want to share the pregnancy journey? First introduction to motherhood?
Well, I was just coming out of the military. I was 25 when I was swept away by this soldier.
Ooh.
I remember looking at this facade of a man, 6, tall, bald-headed.
All right.
I mean, honestly, all of them was in shape because that was a requirement of the job.
Right.
So they'll be like, oh, he was in shape. They all was in shape. We was all in shape. And similar to what you were saying, Legend, I was like, I was sheltered as a child. Like, there were a lot of things that I wasn't allowed to do, conversations that we never had, spent most of my time in the church. And the boyfriends that I did have was secrets. And, I think the one boyfriend my mom did allow me to have was like, because my sister knew him. And, that was that's a whole nother talk show, First Love. Which turned out to be controlling and toxic. So by the time I got to the Army, I was like, whoo.
Wow,
this was what I had. Like this what they do. I had, and people are flirting, and we were in the barracks, and across the hall are men that live across the hall. Like it ain't like girl barracks, boy barracks. Like no, they across the hall.
Access.
Like, not gonna let us do that. Like it's okay. There's no. So it was like it was very hard for this sheltered Haitian girl to be in New York City with all this sin. What that was my perception of everything. And so yeah, I felt hard, like real hard. And so I was like so in love, we was having sex everywhere.
Ooh, girl.
That sounds like Dr. Me. That sounds like a different show.
We got to come back to that one.
We got to go back.
Imagine, I don't even remember how I found out I was pregnant. I think I was like just kind of like sickly. And when you're sick, you go to sick call because you don't like take care of yourself in the military. Everything that's out here is in there. So you go to sick call. And they were like, "Ooh, you're pregnant." I'm like, with what? What does that mean? Like, because I wasn't aware of my body. I didn't have the conversation, like the menstruation. Like, even like if our parents had the menstruation conversation of when you're ovulating versus not, like, I don't know what they talked about when we were in high school, but it wasn't that.
No,
talk about sex right? Like there's some basic stuff like we really could just get on the table and talk about so that girls aren't out here dumb and stupid, like for real, like dumb and stupid from your mom not talking to you, and dumb and stupid from the school not really telling you what it is, and dumb and stupid because the book that you read don't make no sense. Like you like literally have to learn this stuff on the fly. And so I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was just like nauseous. I couldn't eat anything. It was like the first 6 months I couldn't eat anything, no meat. I couldn't stand any smells. It was like, this is terrible.
Royal tropical.
And I'm like, I love food. I'm like a human garbage disposal. I ate everything. I had a very grand appetite, right?
Not with these kids.
Could not eat nothing. And then when I finally did have appetite, I just wanted Haitian food. Like I just wanted the rice and the peas and the legume and the sauce-pois, like anything Haitian. I didn't want no American food, no nothing. Like that girl was Haitian in there. Yeah. And then I can remember just thinking to myself, like by that time, it was time for me to kind of like get out of the military. It was like at the end of my tour, I didn't re-enlist. And so I was home, just pregnant, and, my guy came back with me, and we were supposed to start this grand life and be together. Do we go into when we had the baby? Or we just gonna start right there? How far are these stories going?
Right. That's what I'm like. I'm cutting out because I don't know how.
Not yet.
I don't know how. I got some stories.
So let's just say that.
Just the pregnancy for now. Our first
just the pregnancy. Okay, yeah.
Well, wait.
What the hell? That's the pregnancy.
Yes.
What the hell?
Okay, for me, real quick, I forgot to find out with the Lonnie when I found out I was pregnant. I had my cycle the whole time. So I was taught, when you're pregnant, well, not the whole time. I had my cycle for the first 4 months.
Oh, that's
and it wasn't light. It wasn't it wasn't spotty. It was a cycle. It was a full 5-day.
Not what we were taught.
No, so that's what I'm saying. What I've read and what I've heard, you miss your period, you take a pregnancy test, you're pregnant. No, I went for my regular checkup. I went for my yearly, PAP. And basically, doc was like, "Oh, your cervix is closed," and I was like, "Okay, well, open it." And he was like, "No, we're not causing a spontaneous abortion." I was like, "Abortion? Like, what you talking about?" He was like, "You pregnant? Who pregnant?
4 months with a period?
4 months.
I'm the man.
4 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I should have known then. Ghetto.
With a whole trimester.
Ghetto. I should have known then.
Go ahead and sip, girl.
I'm sorry. Right. Go ahead, Lex. I'm sorry. Right. I got to tell you something. I'm scared.
Oh, let's see. Mine started with, like Dr. Mia said, I was nauseous with everything that I ate. I couldn't stand the smell of even like your food. Forget what I was trying to eat. I don't want to smell your food either. Everything smelled nasty. And 3 times, like 3 sessions in a row, I ate cereal, which was like my, that was my main
food craving all the time. And as soon as I ate that cereal, I threw it up. Milk, food parts. I was like, something's wrong. I eat cereal like 5 times a day. And now
Right.
all of a sudden, I can't keep it down.
Can't
So
stand
I
it.
decided the day of the classic, my sophomore year of college, I said right before we went out of town, let me just go to the little clinic and take this test real quick because something
After
not
the
right.
classic. After the
That,
classic. After.
no, I know. Why would my
She
dumb
said, I'm
After.
self?
going to the
Why would
classic.
you? Oh, why would you
Uh,
ruin the weekend like that?
as soon as that lady stuck that test in my urine, she said, "Oh, you're very pregnant." I said, "Huh? What? How?" I just
Right.
slid I just slid down in the chair because I already knew before I took the test something not
That's what it
right.
was.
My
Yeah.
body don't feel right. And I still had one more cycle after, whatever, but I was like my body just feels off. So the
Yeah.
whole pregnancy, I just kept telling myself it's not really real. This doesn't really exist. Because if I can just dismiss it for the whole pregnancy, maybe that baby will float away into outer space and I never have to take care of it. I don't know.
Wait, time out, flag on the play. Legend, you said
Don't
what? Why
exist.
it wasn't real? If you
It
just
was it's not really happening. For one, I wasn't gaining any weight.
me
And
either. Me
I
either.
wasn't gaining any weight because I didn't have an appetite. And it's just so
Right.
crazy because everybody is saying 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. But I went to the doctor and he basically looked me in my face, grabbed my shoulders, and he said, "You gotta
Eat.
eat. This
Eat. They did
baby
me the
is
same way.
starving." He said, "This baby is starving." I had gained only about 6 pounds in almost 6 months. I didn't
Wow.
gain nothing. I wasn't eating nothing. I mean,
You
yes,
figured you was
I
like, I'm
was
gonna
already,
starve her out.
Right,
listen, I
right.
was
Because I'm
already,
not pregnant. Right.
I understand I'm already big legs. So I was like, she got fat in there to feed on. Like, my stomach is already big. She'll be fine.
We
Oh,
good.
let me delete that she. Because every time I went for an ultrasound, my baby was laying on her side with her legs crossed. So I didn't know the entire pregnancy what I was having. Forget a
Oh,
gender.
wow.
I didn't know until the very end. I got this Jamaican nurse, and she said, "Well," she said, she said, even though her heart rate was up and this and that, the other, she said, based on the way your stomach is hanging, this is not a boy. She said everything about her screamed boy, but the way my stomach was hanging told her it was a girl. And she was right. I got this big, long, frog shaped girl. And I was like, her arms are long, her legs are long. I was
Don't you
just
do
like,
that, baby,
what?
like that. She's
Well,
beautiful.
that's what she looked like to me because
Right.
they have long limbs.
Yes,
But
yes.
I was like I don't know. It's just that first day. First of all, they dope you up. They dope you up. I don't know what I'm looking at, and I'm not sure that I even want this. So the pregnancy itself was just always something that I figured I'll come around to it.
Mm.
And I think I can stop there. I don't have any first love stories. I don't have any crazy boyfriend stories. I got pregnant from one of them things that I was running past in college, and here she is today 23 years later. So
Oh my God.
Wow.
that's my love story.
Wow.
I walked around with a image in my head. That's
That's
Wow.
what
it.
we all
No
can
real
relate
baby.
to.
Say if I say it's not real, she's just gonna float off into space.
Mhm. And it's funny how you said, Lex, that she had her legs closed the entire pregnancy. When I did my first sonogram with Alani, this heifer had stuck up her middle finger. Literally,
Oh,
there's like, oh, there's her
She
hand.
said, "Up this
I
world."
was like,
well,
ghetto.
she only
Big.
closed it for the ultrasound. It's like she
Oh,
didn't want people in her business.
that's right.
And
That's right. And
because
she ain't
every
wrong.
other time, at about maybe 7 months, I think she had inner bruised me or something they told me because she was kicking my rib cages like a soccer player.
Ooh.
And
Oh
she
wow.
had me so bruised up and damaged that I would spend every day pushing her feet off my rib cages because she was 21 inches long when she was born. She was so long and she was just in there like boom, 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 boom. Let me out of here, stupid heifer. Like, I don't know. She was beating me up from the inside. So I maybe that's why I only have one. Who
You
knows?
just stopped after that.
Maybe.
Wow. My expectations, I did have expectations for pregnancy. My expectations were it was going to be this beautiful thing. You know, you get the baby shower, you take the maternity photos with his hand as a heart on your stomach. You do the gender reveal. You just do, yeah, all of that. Shaka, sit down before you drive Mike crazy now, looking at your skin.
Oh.
But I didn't have much expectation for being a mother. I figured it would just be great having that little person. But for pregnancy, I had all of these. Like, you have a plan, you pack your bag, you do this, you go in, you whoever's gonna be at my feet,
right.
push. And life said, no. I was not prepared for my pregnancy being miserable. I was sick. I think I found out I was pregnant on let's say on a Sunday. That following Tuesday, I was sick as a dog. For the entire first trimester, I was sick. So I didn't enjoy it. Everything I thought that I would be doing, like taking the pictures and doing little vlogs and all of that, I didn't want to do any of that. I couldn't eat all of the foods that Trevor cooked that I normally love. I couldn't smell meat. I was just eating grits and salad because that's all I could tolerate. I didn't I didn't get my maternity shoot. I didn't get my baby showers. I was in the process of looking at places for my baby shower when I ended up having her at 26 weeks. So nobody put that in you like, you know what? You may not carry the baby to full term, because I just heard babies 9 to 10 months, you're going to have a baby, and then this is what's going to happen. So I wasn't prepared for, okay, that baby may not make it 9 months inside of you. That baby's going to come out in 26 weeks. That baby's going to weigh 2 pounds. That baby, you're not going to be able to see your baby for the first 3 days. I had envisioned us being in the same hospital and I'm holding her and kissing her, and then we go home 3 days later. Not 3 days later, I'm discharged and she's at a whole nother hospital. NICU. What's the NICU? I didn't learn anything about that until I was thrown into this situation. So I wish that I had been better prepared for, this is what you hope happens, but this is what could happen. You know, I wish I was prepared for that. So my first experience, and I'm not going to go too deep because I'm not going to cry on this screen. So my first introduction, we'll say that for a session with Dr. Mia when she can talk me through it. My first introduction to motherhood was not a good one. Like, I felt like once I finally got to a place where I'm at the end of second trimester and I'm able to eat, I'm feeling cute finally. And then it was like, okay, that's it. So I experienced it for maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then it was over. So my introduction was nothing like I had anticipated, and I felt let down. I still feel like I missed out on what I should have had. So I'm gonna start there. So now none of our pregnancy journeys were necessarily what we had expected or what we had envisioned necessarily. And I love that we all had different stories, and the fact that we all got pregnant or experienced our pregnancies at different stages of our life. Because like, Shaka, how old were you for both of your pregnancies?
How what?
How old were you for your 2 pregnancies?
So my first pregnancy, so with Jasmine, I was 18. And with Alani, I was 21, about to turn 22.
Okay, so 18, 21, 22. Okay, Dr. Mia, how old were you for your pregnancies?
25, 33, 31, and 34. 35.
I like your thinking, Dr. Me.
Right. I was like, 5 to 6
And
years apart. That's all I remember.
I want to pause for a bit because someone mentioned about pregnancies being different. Were your 3 pregnancies, were there any similarities? Were there big differences between them?
Oh no, they were all different. They were all different. And I wanted to add this part. I meant to add it earlier. And this is also something that people don't talk about is the fear of not being able to have a child, because my mother's sisters were all barren. Like my mother was like literally the one that had like maybe her and one other sister, but my mom had like 8 siblings, and like two, like a lot of them they only had one child or they couldn't have children, and both on my father's side. So like I think when I got pregnant the first time, it was like sort of a relief that I didn't get that gene, because it was afraid. So it was like bittersweet. Like, okay, I didn't get the olive gene, right? Of whatever it is that causes her sisters not to be able to have children. Um, so I think that's also something like, people don't talk about is the misconception that we all are able to have children and how easy it is, the perception of how easy it is to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And it's really not. And it's a waiting game.
I have several friends who have tried for years. Some, finally got pregnant, and one of my closest friends is literally going through kind of what Nene and Trevor went through, where they had their daughter at 26 weeks after trying for years. I have a friend currently now who's been trying for years. So it's like, some women, especially I feel like a lot of women of color, we don't really talk about that part of it. We just assume, oops, mistake. Sorry, my fire alarm building is crazy. We just say, oh, it's a mistake, and that's what happens. But a lot of women can't get pregnant.
Okay, we're gonna move. I wrote that down because I want to talk more about that. So I want to make sure I don't forget that, because that's something that we don't talk about enough either. Lex, how old were you when you had your daughter?
When I had her, I was 19, just shy of 20.
Okay.
Yeah, just shy of 20. I had her in
Okay.
July, turned 20 that November.
Oh, okay. And I feel like I was the old lady. I was I was 35 in a day when I had Leia. So I had her the day after my 35th birthday. So I like that between the four of us, we were in these different age gaps, not 18, 19, 20-ish, 20s and 30s, and then mid 30s. And the fact that our expectations or what we had to actually go through were all so different. And then the fact that we brought up how, for those of you, the two of you who have had multiple pregnancies, even those pregnancies were completely different. And I think that's something that a lot of people, men, don't understand. Like you can have multiple children, whether it's with the same woman or with different women. Every pregnancy is different, So that's something that's really important to think about. And then bringing it back to what y'all said about it being hard to get pregnant, because that's something else with motherhood. You just assume that, okay, when I'm ready to, I'm just gonna go out there, do what I need to do, and I'm gonna get pregnant. And then I can have the 2 and 3, because my plan was to have 3 kids. I didn't have my first until I was 35, and we had been trying with her since we got together at 31. So that I got a big age right now. So that's something that I don't think is talked about enough. The fact that, it running a family, or just being one of those things where you may not be able to get pregnant, or it could be a struggle. I want to pull up something that Lim brought out. I started. It says, is there a thought or a feeling that women of color aren't prepared for motherhood versus non-women of color? What do you ladies think about that?
I think so. I feel like
and then I just want to add that he says prepared by medical professionals.
I don't think a lot of women of color, and I'm not sure why this is, we aren't given, I feel like, the proper tools or knowledge when it comes to getting pregnant, preventing pregnancies. I mean, they just tell you don't do it, wear a condom, and then that's that, but it's deeper than that. You know what I mean? So I feel like we aren't prepared. I feel like women of other races, they seem to know. They got the lowdown or this, whatever, because I can remember, talking to women who or friends of mine who, aren't black or who aren't, Spanish, and talking to these Caucasian women, and they're telling me things, and I'm like sitting there like, why don't I know this? How come I'm at a like why do you know this and I don't? Like, what is it? And then you take that conversation back, to my black friends or my black family, and they're like, what? Who told you that? So it's like, well, the white people said that this is what, oh, right. And then come to find out, you research it and it is true. But why don't we know these things? I have no idea.
Well, y'all know I'm always gonna go back to slavery.
Yeah,
Bring
right.
it.
Yeah,
Bring it.
I think what the conversation that is not had is that, for a lot of our ancestors, that childbearing was more of a burden and a sacrifice and not a honor and a blessing, because you became pregnant and all you did was fear for the life of your child, or you didn't want to become pregnant because you didn't want your child to be born into slavery and to be sold and to have the same experiences that you have had. So if you think about the fact that they passed on this mindset generation after generation, that it was something that I kept and I'm ashamed of, that I don't talk about. Who knows? There were times where they probably hid their pregnancy, had the child quietly, and try to save that child. So there's so many things unspoken, that intergenerational trauma that has been passed on, that we aren't talking about. And that speaks to why we aren't forthcoming with, bearing children, what that means, the preparation for it, because it was seen as a burden and sacrifice and not an honor and a privilege to bring children. It wasn't like legacy and, passing on my wealth, whereas in the Western culture, like that's all they talk about is legacy and the firstborn and inheriting land. So it's a lot of things that, unless they start talking about why we are the way we are, it's just going to keep being the questions unsolved, the unsolved mysteries of why we are the way we are.
For me, it was definitely something that was encouraged by my family. And that was a hard pill to swallow when I initially announced that I was pregnant. I told my mom on her birthday that same year. I came home from school and we went out to dinner, and I kind of was like, hey, I got something to tell you. And she was, that like her second, like, you're pregnant. And she said it like a, oh my God, how could you do it type of thing. So there was never really a celebration
Right?
of you're to give me a grandchild. There was never
Legacy.
from a family of we're so happy for you. Like my aunt, and I hate to say this because they may watch this link some kind of way one day,
Might
but
need to see
they
it.
all,
Yeah.
I mean, all encouraged me to have an abortion and to get rid of that baby. So again, this was right before Thanksgiving. We're meeting as a family, we're home from school, and now my 18-year-old self have to sit here and listen to my family tell me all the reasons I need to get rid of this child because I'm not ready for it. Never, like, I'm not saying that we can encourage teen pregnancy, but at the point that that test has come back positive, and I'm just
Right.
trying to figure out what is going on in my own head, it ruined
Yeah.
my class weekend. Now it's
Yeah.
ruining my Thanksgiving. All I want to do is go crawl into a hole and never
Aw.
hear about this baby again.
Right.
So the entire pregnancy, I'm trying to find out why it's even still a good thing because
Right.
Yeah.
nobody has said anything good to me about it.
Right.
When
The
I
hidden,
finally
the
when I finally
shame.
had a baby shower, there was no like hall rented or balloons or decorations. We had it in my aunt's living room with just my aunts and cousins sitting around. There was nobody else from the outside there. My mom stopped letting me go to church because she didn't want to be embarrassed by me walking around with a pregnant belly. I could not even go to church until
I'm
after I had that
sorry.
baby. And she swallowed the idea that my daughter's now a mom. I wasn't, I mean, that lady got like, got the AC fixed and allowed me to blow it on 60 so that I didn't try to leave the house out of any kind of misery. She kept snacks and stuff in the house. And I'm thinking it's because she's catering for me. And to find out later, she didn't want me going outside. She really didn't want nobody to see me like that. So I'm not saying that she wasn't well within her rights to feel, maybe some sort of embarrassment, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I never really got to enjoy being pregnant. I never got to think it was a good idea. And the fact that I've only been physically pregnant once, even though
Mm.
I am a mom of two, I've only been pregnant once. I've only gone through this experience
That one.
once in
Yeah.
my life, and it got shot down by so many people. I mean, even my
Wow.
friends that weekend that I found out were all
Mhm.
volunteering, like push me down the stairs and feed me bleach. Like these are kind of jokes they were making because they had all aborted their babies, and I was the only one still sitting there carrying mine.
Right.
Like they all aborted their babies. I was the last one to get pregnant. We were all young college students, and I still was the last one in my little circle to get pregnant.
Mhm.
They had either miscarried or aborted their baby. And they were like, well, you don't need to have one either. We don't have none. You see what happened to ours. Like, these were all conversations I was having. Very few of my friends ever made me feel good about what I was about to carry on. So when that baby first popped out that first day, all I did was stare at her. I didn't want to hold her. I wouldn't feed her. The nurse kept coming in there, like sitting on the bed trying to talk to me. I wouldn't even pick that baby up. I just
Mm.
kept staring at her over there in that little bed, like, I gotta do this? You sure this is like,
This.
you sure this is my thing to do?
Right.
So it took a very long while to attach myself to what I had just done. And I carried her, 9 months and 3 days. So I took her all the way to the
Gee.
end. But I had no attachment in the very beginning. I would like I had no attachment. Like the
I
first
think it was their generation. That baby boomer generation. They
Ooh.
sweat, they cold blooded. They
Ooh.
yeah.
read,
Ooh. Yeah.
and
Ooh.
yes, they have done a whole lot to contribute to
Ooh.
society, but they have also contributed to a lot of the ailments in our
Sure
society.
do. They
Right.
are a trigger too.
Yeah, because just like you said, when I remember calling my mom and telling her I was pregnant, and she told me that she was disappointed in me, and I thought to myself, this is after I've spent a year in Iraq. I already had my house, bought my condo at 19. You ain't never had to take care of me, and you're disappointed in me. I remember what that felt like. I was just like blown away. I was like, you have soldiers coming back in boxes. I'm coming back pregnant, but you don't have to take care of me because I got everything already settled. I have my own. So I think it speaks to their generation of that shame and that
Right.
guilt of the perception of not being successful in raising their children right. Or and I think a lot of it was religion too, because y'all
Mhm.
got married at 18, 16. Y'all was with your husband
14. 14.
14. Y'all
Yes.
was courting at 14 and
Popping
married.
out babies.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So that's
Multiple.
why I didn't understand. And was it that they wanted more for us than they had for themselves? And they couldn't really communicate that. And they hid behind
I,
religion to
I want to
protect
believe that.
that,
I want to believe that.
you
That's what I
know?
want to believe. I want to believe that.
Still
Because
hiding.
Listen,
They're still hiding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
it was.
yes.
Oh, let me tell you. Okay, I have this very weird relationship with my mother. Because like I said, she raised me, but not really. You know, she was there. I should say she didn't really raise me, but she was very present and she was there. She just had this drug addiction. So everything really came from my grandfather and my grandmother, right? So whatever they said, that was law for me. So you know, my heart goes out to the both of you. You know, Dr. Mia and Legend. You know, feeling that disappointment and you know someone saying, you know, I'm embarrassed or whatever. Like my heart breaks for y'all for that. I didn't have that. I will say my family was supportive, but very similar to Dr. Mia. I had it all. Like they didn't have to take care of me. I've been pretty much taking care of myself and my little brothers since I was like honestly 13 years old. You know, and before my brothers started to come around, I had two little cousins. Like I grew up in a house, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house with 3 adults and 7 children, you know, and me being the oldest. So I had to take on a lot of responsibility. It wasn't that I was sheltered. I just had to make sure the kids got to school and I did their homework. And my grandparents were elderly, so they didn't have a higher education, you know, 6th grade and I think 3rd grade for one. So I had to, you know, fill in the gap. But I will say that they were supportive of me, but I was already out of the house and, you know, had my own apartment and you know, engaged to be married. But at the same time, it just it sucks that these parents of ours, this baby boomer generation, like I literally, I mean, it's funny, I laugh at it, but when I literally say it's so hard raising your parents because I literally feel like I'm raising my mother right now. And she's hard headed and she don't listen and she getting on my nerves. And I tell her these things and then and we butt heads because she'll say, well, this is what you need to do with your daughter. Don't do that. Don't do that because you was not there for your daughter. So do not tell me how to raise mine. Let's not go there. Do it.
Right.
You know. So it is this baby boomer generation. Like I mean, I jokingly say it, but they are a trigger for me. Like they triggered me. They make me want to make an appointment with Dr. Mia because I need to heal that part of some sort because these people they're my I feel like because they didn't have it like they were so you know you wake up the husband goes off to work the wife stays at home takes care of the house like their gender roles were so like that's what they did and for us I was listening to this guy speak earlier he said something that made a lot of sense he said that our generation X and you know some millennials depending on where y'all fall in that millennial timeline are not only raising our parents still we had to raise ourselves we're now raising our parents and we're now taking care of our adult children not you know necessarily raising them but we're still very much a part of their adult lives you know still there for them still giving because our parents really weren't there for us not saying that I got kicked out when I found out that I was pregnant but you know it was still I still had to fend for myself and do you know take care of me I couldn't depend on my grandparent or my parent at the time so it's like we had no choice but to be, you know, the things that our parents weren't necessarily for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. I want to hop over these comments because I don't want the fellas to feel like
Right.
we are
They on it, boy. I feel like they in this conversation.
Okay.
I know I love it. So Trevor wants our feedback on is it that white families take care of the babies versus the black girls being kicked out of the house? Because you know we were talking about that how the parents feel and you weren't able to like really enjoy being pregnant or get that
Well,
sense
so
from them.
I don't know that it's that they take care of the babies. The white girls aren't getting pregnant because we're talking about birth control as soon as we having a conversation about the possibility of them having sex. So it's kind of like trying to get statistics from a pool that's not necessarily there, right? Because my white friends absolutely were on birth control at 16 because their parents were not going to sit up here and play the radio and act like God is going to keep them from not having sex and getting pregnant. So there's this huge misconception that black women and black girls are out here the only ones having sex. No, we're the ones out here getting pregnant and not having protected sex because everybody's having sex, like, you know, but there's a difference between them getting pregnant and not. So it's just that when I was at Stranahan and Stranahan was like a melting pot back in the 90s, you know, the girls on the cheerleading team, they were on birth control. They were having sex. I wasn't having sex at the time, but you can tell the difference. So there's that pool don't exist. I don't have to have a pool of whether they're taking care of the children because there ain't no children coming home because they on birth control.
Right. See, we pretend like we pretend like church is gonna stop it, or because I said so. Because I said so will not keep these legs closed. And honestly,
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
I feel like we need a fire.
all it did was
I know I gotta get one.
Because I said so, it's not gonna keep these legs closed.
Oh, let's do a bottle popping. That's what we need, like a
Oh, I'll do that. I like that, Lex, though. I like that. Because it's the church, like you said, the church, and because I said so. Meanwhile, our counterparts, they're 15, 16 years old. Let's get you on birth control. Wow.
And I know another thing. I know Trevor thinks that the statistics are really high, but you know, everything is like a 5 to 7 percentage point off, where 44% of Hispanic women, 33% of white women, and 42% of Black women. Like, it's not that far off of the percentage of women having abortions. It's not like a big gap right now. If you do the statistics based on educated versus not, the statistic based on socioeconomic status, like there's definitely a gap there. But, you know, race-wise, they're all kind of like pretty close.
Yeah.
And of course, age, you do it based on age.
Yeah. All right. So Lim was referring to Trevor about asking the question about what about Serena Williams situations where a grown woman almost dies because women of color don't get the same medical care guidance. That's a whole conversation, right?
That's a whole nother
show.
That's
right there.
We have high pain thresholds.
That's a whole nother show. I work in the medical field. I see like I'm not gonna say the state, and I'm not gonna say the names of these, but there's a site that I go to for work, and it's in a different state. However, there's two offices that one is like basically high risk pregnancies on one floor, and then just your average regular OBGYN on the floor below, but it's still the same, you know, group. They practice under the same umbrella. However, the OBGYN is majority a Black. It's a doctor's office, but it's very much ran like a clinic. And that high risk pregnancy is very much, you know, your 6-figure households, you know, 2-parent, you know, households, you know, the whitest of the white, you know what I mean? Like that.
So they wouldn't put us at floor.
Right. The equipment and the things that happen on one level is not happening on the bottom. Like, that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother topic. Like,
the disparity.
It's sad, but it's very, very much true.
Wow. Here's one. I think it was when Lex was talking. Talk about that. Is it normal for women to be detached from their babies? So that takes us right into, because I wanted to jump into that after Lex was talking, because she was talking about how she just sat there looking at the baby. So I wanted us to go ahead and get to that part about, okay, we have this experience while we're pregnant. Now the baby is here, and naturally people say, oh, you're going to just feel so in love. You're going to feel connected to the baby and this. But then that postpartum depression is a real bitch.
Right.
So let's talk about that, feeling detached from the babies, the depression that we go through after we have gone through these pregnancies, whether it was an ideal pregnancy or a traumatic pregnancy. Let's talk about that.
So can I start?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let me just get this out before I forget my story. And because I kind of brought it up, let me just get this out. So, like I was saying before, I was very doped up because I ended up having a C-section because my daughter just would not come to the finish line. So you have me very doped up. Let's start there. I am on this morphine, which takes about 2-3 days to wear out of your system. And you want me to perform motherly duties on this newborn that I already was treating like a fairy tale. And not a good fairy tale. I don't know, like a horror film. But so everybody else had to come in and hold her and feed her and things like that. And when I finally started to pick her up, the first night I fell asleep with her in my arms and she almost rolled on the floor. Because again, I'm still not feeling what to do. I'm not feeling, oh, stay awake and keep making sure she's okay. So let's slide past that. We get discharged. I go home. The very first day that we walk back into my mom's house, I put that baby in a crib and I can probably count how many times I picked her up. Like she never slept with me from day one. How everybody else say, "Oh, my baby sleep with me. They on top of me. They next to me. I can smell they poop." I never let that baby sleep in the bed with me. She always slept in the crib, and I laid next to the crib in my bed, watching her, maybe patting her when she kind of was crying or stirring. But I didn't hold her more than I had to. For one, because I had her over the summer and I was going back to school in the fall. So 6 weeks later, I left her here with my mother and I went back to Tampa. I left my 6-week-old baby here with my mom. Not because I'm a loser, not because I'm a whatever, but I got to get back to school. I'm a full-time college student. And yeah, I had this baby, but she not about to disrupt, my goals. So I purposely kept my attachment to her at a minimum because I'm going back to school no matter what. I got to get back to my life. And that's the way that I saw it in the beginning. After a year, my mom said, "Well, you having a little too much fun and you not really acting like you ready to take this on full time. So guess what? When you sign your lease, we going to bring your baby to you." And that's what she did. So at 13 months, she dropped that baby off to me in Tampa with no supervision and was like, "Figure it out." Because I had, I would come get her for a week at a time and she would come and hang out or whatever. But it was more like I just need to get back to me. I'm still trying to party. I'm still trying to hang out. It's not clicking to me that you are a full-time mom now. You got to stop doing that. So I think that detachment thing was very heavy. It took a long while for me to say, I want this forever. I want to be there for her. I think she was probably about 4 before I stepped my game up completely and got all into her. And now we're very, very close. Like we talk and we laugh and we TikTok and Snapchat, like whatever. We get into all kind of stuff because I was open to her. And I say, you know what? I need to pull you into my life and stay there for you. But it took some years in the beginning.
Wow. And looking at the relationship that you have, because we are Facebook friends, so I see every now and then you post, and I'm glad she went to fam. But I would never know that your start with her was the way it was, because when I see you all, the outside looking in, and I see that love that you have for her, I see that relationship and that closeness that you have, I would never know that it started off the way that it did. So kudos to you for getting to a place where you were ready to, step up, grow up, and just do what you had to do for a mother. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, and the fact that you did that without having to go to therapy.
Listen, because like I said, I'm very open about this, and I've talked to her about this because at 3 weeks old, I walked out of my third floor apartment and hung her across the banister, and I almost dropped her. And I don't know what or who, because I'm not really into religion anymore. I'm not gonna give the kudos to upstairs, but back then I did. And I literally I still know what she was wearing the day that I almost dropped her. Like I hung her across that banister. She was wearing a duck onesie with a matching blanket. And I could not take her crying. I didn't know what to do with her. She wasn't feeling me. I wasn't feeling her. My mom was at work. And we had gone through that all day. And I was just like, she can go. I don't want to do this anymore. And something like a switch clicked on at the drop of a dime. And I just pulled her back into me. And I turned around and walked in the house and I laid her in the crib and closed the door. And I didn't touch that baby again until my mom got home from work. I told my mom, come get her. And when my mom picked her up and went out, in the living room or in her room or wherever she went, I closed my bedroom door and I didn't come out no more for the rest of the night. I never forget that day. I've told my daughter about that day. I said, your life almost ended at 3 weeks old because I didn't know what to do with you. I didn't want to hear the sound of your cry no more. Nothing I was doing was making you feel better. But that little duck onesie and matching blanket is so stuck in my head. I feel like I can draw a picture of it. That's how visual it's still.
I mean, that was definitely the postpartum that Nini was talking about. That really at that time, I'm assuming it was she was born in the
2000.
90s.
She was born. Yeah.
That we still wasn't really talk about it because at 3 weeks that was definitely postpartum.
But nobody talks
for it. Yeah,
they don't talk about it.
You just felt bad.
Is where we fall apart because my family told me to abort her. My friends joked about abortion.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said, we're so happy for you. Way to carry her. Way to be, nobody ever talked to me about anything.
Yeah.
All my doctor kept saying was, you need to eat. You need to gain weight. You need to eat. You need to gain weight. And I'm like, but what am I doing wrong? What kind of things do I need to put in my body?
Right.
And then afterwards, I'm still not reacting to her. I'm still not happy about this. But nobody notices I have postpartum. My mom not letting me even leave the house or go to church or anything like that. So I don't have any social interaction. All I do is sit in this house all day with this little crying baby that I really have not connected to. And you guys just want me to miraculously love her and cherish her and be ready to put her all over the internet,
Whatever.
social media,
MySpace.
Right.
we really MySpace, right? What interaction do I even have with the outside world to tell me that I still did something okay?
Yeah.
So there was no professional aspect there.
My daughter came 2 weeks early. No, actually, is it 2 weeks? About 2 weeks early. I wasn't ready for her to come. I think we had just had the baby shower. Her father was overseas trying to make his way home. I think he was in Germany at the time. And I remember going into labor. My sister, I called her and I was like, my water broke. And she came over. And she was like, let's just walk. Because if you go there now, they're still going to, you still have to be dilated 9 centimeters, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't want to walk. I just want to go to the hospital. And so she made me walk around the block. I'm still mad at her for that. So then we finally got to the hospital and she was like, I'll be back. I'm going to work. I got to get the girls. I got to do this. I got to do that. I remember going to sleep. And same thing, how we talk about how the medical professionals don't necessarily pay us any attention. And, of course, I was 25, but I look a lot younger. And they was like, hey, honey, are you okay? How you feeling? Nobody was there with me because, like I said, she came early. Everybody was still living their lives. And they put me to sleep. She's like, I'm going to give you something for the pain, okay, sweetheart?
How she said it, Dr. Mia? How she said
I'm going to give you something for the pain, okay, sweetheart? So then she gave me something for the pain. I fell asleep and they forgot about me. They completely forgot about me. Yep. She came in the room. She checked me. She's like, oh my God, you're 9 centimeters. We gotta get the doctor in here.
Hello.
Whatever they gave me, put me to sleep. I slept through everything. I woke up. They rushed the doctor, and I'm like, nobody's here. Nobody's here. I'm gonna do this. I was by myself. And it was like push, 3 push, and she was out. Because you know this, I was in the best shape of my life. I was fine, you know. I was a stallioness. So it was so easy because they had us doing PT. I was 6 months still running.
Yeah.
So 3 push and she was out. And I was like, oh, that was easy. You know what I mean? Like I had no idea number 2 and number 3 was gonna be hell because I was gauging it from my first pregnancy. I was like, that was so easy. But like legend, girl, that darn girl wouldn't be quiet. She was colicky. Dad hadn't come home. I'm by myself, a crying baby all day. Hey, Q.
Hey, yo, Q.
And it was just like, I didn't sign up for this. This is too much. And, you know, same thing, postpartum, didn't know what it was. I cried when she cried. I'm looking at her like I cried louder than you.
Right? I feel like I went through 2 rounds of postpartum, if that makes sense. I feel like I went through a bit of it once I had her, just going through the emotions. But then once she was discharged 77 days later and she finally comes home, technically she's almost 3 months old, but physically she's like a newborn. I feel like I went through a whole nother round of postpartum, like all over again. And the crying, and she was gassy, and she was having breathing issues where she was always stuffy and couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Like, okay, God, I prayed for this child. I prayed for her to be able to come home. Now she's home. Like, I don't have those doctors there with me anymore. I don't have the monitors to let me know she's about to Brady or this child. So it's like now I'm on my own, and it's like 3 months after having this child, I'm going through postpartum. But at the time, I didn't know that because I'm like, you know, I've had her. She's 3 months old. You can't be going through that. I thought I was going crazy, not knowing what was going on. But again, that's not being prepared for that because nobody walks you through it may not go the way you want to go. So that was like really crazy. Q, thank you for joining us, girl.
Hey, I'm sorry I'm super late to the party. Y'all know I'm a struggle right now.
It's okay.
So far, we've just shared our pregnancy journeys and right up after pregnancy. Girl, you want to share yours real quick?
Oh no, go ahead, Q. Yeah, talk.
So I'm sure, I don't know if you all know, but you know, I only literally had a month and a half to get myself wrapped around becoming a parent because that's when I found out I was pregnant. I was almost 7 months. So I went through the first 7. I went through the whole 6, 7 months. Just
you had a period.
Period on faithfully. Period on faithfully. I'm talking about this was the first time in my life that I was able to know and understand when my period was coming on, literally to the day. Like I can literally smell it. Oh, my period coming on. That's how on point it was. And the only reason how I found out was I was cramping. I've never cramped, never in my day have felt a menstrual cramp a day in my life, but I was assumed that I was having them. And I remember I called my best friend who lived in Orlando at the time, and I had just took a shower and I put on my matching brown panty set, and I told her, I said, if they find me in this house dead, I'm fresh and I'm ready. And she's laughing. She's like, girl, you're so stupid. And I'm like, I swear, the way I feel, I think I'm about to beat my makeup because I was in so much pain. And so she came over, she drove from Orlando to Daytona, and she was like, when she came in the house, I literally was, I was in the corner, like balled up. I had a pillow between my leg, and I had a heating blanket wrapped around me. I was sweating profusely because this is like, in the middle of hurricane season. So like, it was just hot and muggy and everything. And she's like, something's really wrong with you because, you know, I have a very high tolerance of pain. Like I can have a migraine and just be walking around like, you know, hey y'all, how y'all doing? But in my head, it feels like I'm getting banged in the back of my head with a hammer. And so she took me to the emergency room. I get there, they drug me up, I knock out. And when I wake up, she's in the corner looking at me like, bitch, you ain't tell me. And I'm like, looking at her, I was like, dog, what did they give me? And I need them to package this up so they can take me and go home with it. And she like, you ain't tell me something. And I was like, well, what is there to tell you? I just told you I was cramping and I wasn't feeling well. So what was it? So the nurse comes in and she like, hey. And I'm like, hey, I'm sitting up. And she was just like, how you feeling? She take my blood pressure, take my temperature.
We all know
all some
what
stuff.
kind of
I said, I'm
nurse
feeling
we
a
had.
lot.
It's the impression of the nurses for me.
I know. Hi.
Impression of the nurses.
Yeah. And so she like, so how you feeling? And I said, I feel a lot better. Thank you so much. And she was like, congratulations. And I was
Feeling
like,
better?
Oh, what?
Okay.
I just told you I'm telling you, I'm feeling better. And she was like, no, silly girl. Congratulations, you're having a baby.
Silly girl.
I cut my eye, my
Oh my
best friend, and she looking at me like,
Like, bitch, you should have told me. You ain't tell me.
no. Then her next word was, bitch, who the daddy?
Who the daddy? Who the daddy?
Who the pappy?
And I was like, what you mean, who the? And then it hit me. And I was like, oh my God. I just broke down crying. I couldn't stop crying because I was like, the last person I had sex with was my baby daddy, which was my ex-boyfriend at the time. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God. So me and her going back, and you know how we have a conversation with our friends, and we can have a conversation with them without having words.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what we was doing. We having eye contact, like. So the nurse like, so the nurse like,
a whole conversation. The guys are lost. Like, we had a whole conversation.
So the nurse was like, okay, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna have Dr. come check you and then you can be ready for discharge because everything looks good, whatever. So before she walked out, I said, can you do another test? And she's like, what test do you want me to do? And I said, another pregnancy test. Maybe I got somebody mixed up or whatever. Like I haven't gained any weight. Like what's going on? She said, well, we did a blood sample. Ooh. Well, when did y'all take blood? And she's like, when you came in and you kind of blacked out. We just took it. Yeah. So I'm sitting here like, this is crazy. So we got get discharged. That drive home was like walking the Green Mile, because there was no words, but it was completely understood. Like we had a whole conversation again with no words, nothing. So I get home. I remember the next morning I went calling around and I found a OBGYN, scheduled an appointment. Luckily she was able to do walk in that same day. So I go in and I was like, well, they said that I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. She was like, okay, well, let's, do whatever. I gave her the paperwork from the hospital. And she's like, well, let's see if we can, hear a heartbeat. Girl, as soon as they put that damn thing on my stomach, boom, 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 boom. So she said, well, I don't think we can do a test. And I said, I'm asking for you to do a test.
You said, I want to test that.
It's a whole heartbeat, baby. What is it?
Bump the blood, bump up the heartbeat.
Babe,
listen, I was like,
beautiful.
No, I need to do another test.
Beloved, there's a heartbeat.
And she said, well, give me a second. I'll have the sonogram tech come in and, we'll see if we can see your fetus or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, do that. But I want to test. Child. She was moving around. I clearly see a baby there. There's a baby there.
But you want to test.
And then
she still want to test.
I'm still screaming, I want to test. And so my daughter at the time, I didn't know what it was yet. And so she has her back turned towards the thing, and then she like turns over and her legs spread wide open. And the tech said, oh, we have a girl. And I said, wait a minute. So I went to counting. And I'm sitting here like, wait, now I'm not the smartest person and I don't really know much about biology and stuff. I said, don't you gotta be like at least like 12 weeks to find out you're the sex of a baby or something? And she was like, yeah. And she went to moving something around and she stretched and did. She was like, yeah, you're measuring at 28 and I'm
Oh,
sitting here like 28 days? She said,
28.
no, 28 weeks.
28 days. Mm,
Dang.
mm,
So I'm sitting here. She was like, yeah, so are
mm.
you in denial? And I said, I think you need to mind your business right now and just give me a moment. And so when I say I'm in there hard down crying because I'm 25. Yeah, I'm 25 years old. I'm graduated from college. I'm in the middle of cosmetology school.
Thank
No,
God
no,
for that.
no. I graduated cosmetology school, so I was done. So I literally was just working, and I'm sitting here like bawling, like I'm a 16-year-old teenager, and I had to tell my mama. That's how bad I was crying. And
Mhm.
they bring in the nurses come in, and this other lady come in, and they trying to rub my back, and I'm looking at these ladies like, you can't get your fucking hands off me, like. And so she's like, we have counseling resources for you if you need to, you need help telling your mother. And I'm sitting here like, I'm 25 years old. What are you talking about? And the black nurse, the black mama nurse, I'm like, girl, if you don't get your behind up
Okay,
and
get
call
it
your
together.
mama and let her
Right,
know, get it together. You okay?
right.
You got this. And I'm like, girl, if I wasn't pregnant, I'd put these hands on you. You don't know who you're talking to like that. But I had to go home. I called my mom and I said, Mo, first person I told was my cousin Lisa. And then
Oh,
she was laughing. She thought, yeah, shout out my cousin Lisa. She was laughing and she was like, girl, we got you. You got this. I was sitting here like, what am I supposed to do with a baby? Because my plans, honey, did not include a child. That's the truth. My plans in life was for me to just travel, get a good job, and fuck up. That's it. I
and
just
do my
wanted to
hair.
fuck up the world, have a
And
good
do my hair.
time, and just
And do my
enjoy life. That was it.
and do
And
my
do
hair.
and do your hair, Shaka.
That's right.
And braid legend. Don't forget.
and
Speak on
and
it.
braid legends hair.
That's right. July
Yeah,
1st.
the three of
July
the
1st.
four.
July 1st.
So told my sister, told my mom, everybody. My mom was more shocked than anything because her thing was, well, I didn't know you was dealing with somebody. Yeah. So that next phone call was to that person.
How did that go?
Um, it was extremely brief. It was a lot of air on the phone. Um, he was like, uh, okay. I was like, okay. And then we hung up the phone.
Mm.
That's it.
And
It's
that
It
was
is
it.
but
And then,
what it
it's
is.
in all honesty, it's a lot to process. You can't expect the same reaction from everybody. It's
Yeah,
a lot
of
no,
course,
I agree.
I
when you be
totally get
like,
it.
I'm
I totally
gonna
agree.
put in this world, it's just a lot to process.
In which I understood that. So when he asked for the paternity test,
Mm,
I didn't, my mom was more upset than anything because she felt like
mm,
he was trying to call me out, like calling me a hoe or something. And I told
mm.
her, I said, I don't think that's what he was doing. And I said, it's a legit, inquiry because we were not together.
Yeah,
And again, I'm just calling him, shoot, what? Since this happened in October, November, and I hadn't seen or spoken to him since April. So I'm calling him out the blue. Of course, you're gonna ask questions like. So I mean, I said at the end of the day, you can call me whatever you want, but I have good, coochie management skills, and I know who I'm dealing with. So I was like, hey, you can get a test. I'm cool with that. So he got the test, and it is what it is. But the months after were extremely hard, extremely hard.
Mm.
I had an asthmatic baby, and I did not have no support, none. So it went from getting I'm still trying to wrap my head around and understanding the fact that I am having a baby, and then I have the baby, and now I have this screaming holicky child who won't go to bed at nighttime. All she does is scream at night. Like we were doing kind of crazy stuff. Like we would put her in the stroller and walk her, and I stayed off 19th Street and 31st, and I would literally walk her down to freaking damn near 441, and this is at like no lie, 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, because I don't know what was it about the night air and her, they were becoming one. And as soon as she got in the house, it was back down to where I'm talking about hard down, screaming to the top of her lungs. And that went on for 4 straight months. And trying to deal with that. Then I come home and everything was fine. I put her in her crib and I hear like and I'm like, what's going on? I'm in the kitchen and I go in the room and she's like blue. And I don't know what happened. I'm wrapping her up, take her straight to the hospital. They revived her, got her back, alive, but that's when I found out she was asthmatic. So I'm sitting here like, okay, what am I supposed to do? This little girl literally just stopped crying all day long and all night. Now I have to put a machine on her face 4 times a day. I have to give her this type of medicine because this is what's going to help control her asthma. Because at this point, she's like having attacks like sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. So when I tell you I was losing it, and I remember I made the smart decision to go back to school. So I'm going back to school, and I asked her dad at the point, I was like, can you watch her for a few hours? And we literally had just left the emergency room the night before. Like, I have class. Can you just watch her? And his words were, yeah, I don't want to be bothered. And after that, it just spiraled worse and worse and worse. And I remember my mom would come up, and she wasn't working at the time. She would just come up and she would just pop up, and I'd be like, "What are you doing here, lady?" And she's just like, "Oh, I'm just checking up on you." She started noticing certain things, like she noticed that I was like a lot sad. I didn't. She felt like I didn't have a bond with my daughter. She felt like I just was like sad all the time. Like I just felt like, and I remember I had a conversation with my sister, but I didn't know, like, I don't remember what we talked about. And my sister was like, yeah, she had some concerns too because of the things that I was saying. And so it just got bad. It just got really, really bad to the point where I
We sending you hugs, girl. It's okay. This is the real hood of motherhood, everybody.
Right,
and
It's
right,
like
serious.
people
right.
don't know. Like
They
it
don't
was
get it. Yeah.
I like people think, babies and they are beautiful and they are blessings and everything, but when you have
Child.
someone who didn't have a plan, who didn't have an inkling or even a want to become a parent, and then they kind of like stuck with it because you can't get an abortion, it was kind of too late to find placement, it was just a lot. And so
Mm.
I was like, you know what, I'm strong, I can do this, whatever. And I just it just got bad. It got
Yeah.
so bad to the point where like I lost custody of her. Um, my mom got custody of her, and I had to visit my daughter with my mom, like literally sitting right there. So I had supervised visitations, and it was to the point where it was just bad, and I
Yeah.
couldn't understand. I just could not understand why at all. Like, why did it get to this point? I hated my mom for a long time because I felt like, you know, she kind of like, I felt like she underhanded me. Like, instead of her helping me, I felt like she just did things to make it
Mm,
worse. So
yeah.
I went months without talking to her or anything. And in order for me to see my daughter, I had to talk to my mom. So, I went months without even seeing her. So when I next time I saw her, I remember she was a little bit before she turned a year old. And when I came in the house and I was like, hi Maya. And she just looked at me like, you look familiar, but like, who are you? I remember
Right.
she crawled and she crawled up on my mom, And she was like, you know, hugging on my mom, like, who is this lady? And I remember I just turned around, walked out the door, I got in the car and drove back to Daytona.
Mm.
So that went on, and then it was all conducive on me going to counseling. And I remember the first few months of counseling, it was putting me on medication. I was feeling crazy. I wasn't feeling like myself. I wasn't going to work because I just was like depressed. I just was like, I kept feeling like I was a failure. And Shaquesta, you just fucking up. You just not doing, you ain't doing nothing right. And
Mm.
it's just an epiphany hit, and it was like, Shaquesta, you got this. Like, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be able to
Mm.
speak up, and you have to tell these people, like, you're not crazy. You just need help. And I started going to counseling. I was taking it seriously. I had to have a sit down conversation with my mom. I felt a little bit more supported in terms of like my just the emotional instability. And that's a lot of things that people don't know with parenting, motherhood. Like, it's times you don't like the motherfuckers because it feels like they are like a huge burden. Like, I want to go out, but I can't go out because I got this damn baby. I wanted just to be able to just to get up and just, go for a walk, but I got this damn baby. I can't travel because shit, I got this damn baby. And it requires money. Kids are freaking expensive. They are expensive between formula, clothes, pampers, food, and then when they get older in age, you got to pay for daycare. And just imagine a person who did not have the whole 9 months to mentally and emotionally prepare for this. All this stuff is thrust on them. It was hard. And you're
Yeah.
doing it by yourself. And
Yeah.
your daughter's father is like, yeah, I moved on. I'm around here procreating with everybody else, and other drama going on. And he's choosing to be with this person over his responsibility with his kid. Like, he didn't even know how serious. Like, we were gone for almost a year before he even realized that we were gone.
Wow.
And that lets people know like how involved he was. So to this day he don't even know about them first freaking 4 years of her life. He has no clue.
Wow.
So it's like, it's like I say, now she's 17 and we have a great relationship. But them first, like I said, them first 4 years was hard, especially with her calling me quarter instead of calling me mommy.
I I
So
I can totally I can understand kind of where everybody has come from. Like when I had Alani, she I was first of all I was in labor for 13 hours and 45 minutes. Okay. Second, the first pregnancy, that labor was literally 6 hours. Like Dr. Mia, a couple pushes, bam, she out. We good. Alani, that second pregnancy literally took 13 hours and 45 minutes. And I had to get doped up with Demerol twice. She was so high when she was born. Babies come out and they, and she came out, she was like, and I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, just make sure they don't take my baby nowhere. And it was like, I can honestly say, I can't say that it was Alani for me that was she was a great baby. She was every 3 hours, every 12, 3, 6, and 9. Like it was perfect. The problem was she was allergic to milk. So we had to do trial
mm,
and error. We had to go through to find a formula that would work because she had severe diarrhea, explosive diarrhea. Like I'm talking about, like I had it all my furniture in my house was white, okay? And her dad at the time, he was a cop, and he worked the night shift, the third shift or whatever. So I was with her most of the time, and on his days off, because he worked those 4 days, I wanted him to sleep in. So I was trying to be, that mother who I'll take the baby out of the room because we had a 1 bedroom apartment. We didn't necessarily need a 2 bedroom apartment with a newborn. So we said we'll upgrade later. So I would take her out of the room, go into the living room. I wasn't working at the time because I was on maternity leave, but with the diarrhea and the vomiting, it got stressful. And like I said, she was a good kid. She still, ate drank her formula. The formula we could find for her. Then at 6 weeks, we found out that we were giving her soy milk and she was allergic to the soy and she had blood in her stool. So then we had to see a gastroenterologist. But again, dad is a great provider, but he's working and it's just me. Now, I will say at this point, my mom has now gotten her life together. The drugs are done. She's taking care of my brothers like she should, but I'm the oldest and I was, grown. So I'm out of the house. So I had his mom, I had my mom, and I had my grandmother at the time who would all take turns, with me helping. But at the time, it was like, okay, y'all are crowding me. Like I need to figure this out for myself, and I can't because I got this one saying this one saying that, this one saying this. So I can relate when you're saying, how some of you may have lacked some support. I had all the support in the world, but it was overwhelming because I got to figure out at the end of the day, it's my kid. Let me figure out this one. Oh, don't give her that formula. Put the P on the face for the acne. No, you need to do it. No, you're not doing it right. And then keep in mind, my husband, y'all know what I'm talking about. And my
I heard that.
His mother is Caucasian. So you got, the black mama and grandma in one ear, then you got the Caucasian mother, grandmother in the other ear, and everybody telling me what to do. Then you got your homegirls and your cousins and your nieces and all these other people. And I'm like, okay, everybody stop. And then granted, Alani had asthma as well. So I get with the breathing treatments, 3 and 4 and 5 times a day. She's allergic to milk. She has this horrific rash everywhere. Then her hair started to fall out. And I'm like, am I failing as a parent? Then I started to go back to work. But now I'm working. I'm trying to make sure my kid is good. I'm trying to make sure the house is maintained. I'm trying to be a wife on top of that. So now I'm overwhelmed. I'm losing it. So when she got to be about maybe 4 or 5 months, she developed colic. And she would only sleep if you had to swaddle her, like almost like super, super tight, where she could not move, put her in the swing, and that's the only way she would sleep. And it got to one night she was just crying and crying. And I had this 1-bedroom apartment, and we lived in Hollywood, and we overlooked this lake. And I heard clear as day in this ear, throw in the lake. She'll stop crying. And I was like, yeah. And I said, you know what? No. And her dad is at work. So I literally I put her in the swing. I wrapped her up. I swaddled her, put her in the swing. It was a wind up one. It went for 2 hours once she wound it up. And I sat outside my apartment door, locked it. And I was afraid to go in to be with my child because I thought that I was going to throw her in the lake like the voice told me. And it took a minute, and I called her dad. He left work. He came home. And he almost yelled at me, like, why would you think something like that? Like, because again, nobody talks about postpartum. So he's thinking, what's wrong with you is you fucked up because your mama fucked you up and fucked you up. And I'm like, and now I feel like I'm this big because here I have a real issue that I don't know that anybody else is going through. I'm thinking there's something really wrong with me. This man who's a police officer, and I'm not trying to bad talk him or anything like that. It was just that none of us knew. And keep in mind, we're 22, 23 years old. We don't really know. Nobody talks about postpartum in their 20s. So when we got past that hump and I realized what was going on and what it was, he apologized for it. She got past that stage and she was good for the most part. But then, like you said, Q, it gets to a point where these kids are so expensive and it requires so much of you. And eventually he and I, when she was about 2, we separated and eventually divorced. And not saying that I was a single parent, but I was a single parent. I mean, he, had her on his days off, and then I had her, the majority of the week. So I had her 4 days, he had her 3. And when she was with dad, she was daddy's girl. But when she would get with me, because most of the time it was during the week, I was the disciplinary. I was the one that, got to get up, got to go to school, got to do your homework, got to do this. And I think, Lex, our daughters went to elementary school together. Legend, our daughters went to elementary school together. And, I'm looking at you with your daughter, and I would have never guessed what we shared tonight was something that you were going through. Just like I'm pretty sure, you may not have known I A, lost a child before, and B, had these situations. I can sympathize with each one of you ladies because I was there with the postpartum. Like you too, Nene. I get it. It's hard. And when you don't talk about it, these are things that are missed. But then, the kids, my daughter's 23. And I feel like now, like I was sharing with Nene earlier, she like my little broke best friend. That's my homegirl. That's my roommate. Like middle school, I did not like this girl. I ain't like her. And I love my daughter. I like this girl.
Okay, hold on. I'm ready to transition us into that.
Yes.
I have to pause just for a second though. We
Yeah.
have to cut back on the F-bombs. I got a message
Yeah.
from our executive producer. Facebook, I mean not Facebook, YouTube has been cracking down on that, and we eventually want to get this channel monetized, so we have to cut back on the F-bombs though.
Got it.
But I want to thank you, Q, for sharing that story, because I didn't know that you experienced all of that. And like with Lex, to see where you two are with your daughters. Legend. I'm sorry. I gotta legend. I'm sorry. I keep catching it. I keep going back and forth. Legend. Knowing where you two are with your daughters and the relationships you have with them, it is amazing to see. Especially now, I appreciate it more knowing where you started with them, and you would never know that was your story and that was your journey, because I see both of you as amazing mothers. Like, and I know it's just like, it's not just a Facebook thing. Like, I know that you are amazing mothers. So I want to give both of you a kudos around the snaps, like I do with my students, for just being the amazing moms that you are, especially knowing that you went through hell at the beginning, and you could have easily just stepped back and be like, this is too much for me. But you put in the work. You got the counseling that you needed. If you didn't go to counseling, you still recognize what the problem was and put in the work to make it better. So thank you both so much for sharing those stories with us.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about the pregnancy. We talked about the postpartum. Now our children are up there. I have one of the youngest. Mine is 8 now. You have some adults now, and Lex is like she said, she's been pregnant once. She's a mother of 2. Shaka just dropped the bomb with me. Mia has 3, right, Mia? She has 3. 6. Okay, so you have the youngest right now. Let's talk about, like, okay, they're here. We got through the postpartum. Has it gotten easier?
Yes. Now, for me, yes. Well,
okay,
the 23-year-old, but not the 10-year-old.
All right, so let's one at a time go through and let's share these stories.
So for me, my daughter is about to be 23 in July. She graduated last summer from your little FAMU, however you do the little. Okay, so I can't do it because I don't want to be beat up by none of you family.
No, you're a family mom. You can do it.
Okay. All right. My money went there, so I think that makes me a part of the clan. But she graduated from college fairly quickly. I told her in like middle school, you cannot move back here. You cannot go to any college in the Tri-County area. You have to move away and go see what else the world has to offer. So when I pushed her up there, FAMU was kind of just the limit. She didn't want to leave the state, and I told her she couldn't stay home. So that was just the compromise that we found. She had a bit of a challenge, just personality-wise, with the people that she's met and made friends with and what have you. So honestly, I always thought, oh, once she go away to school, she'll come out of that. She'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. She's never been fine. And some days I'm still very concerned. So I won't say that it got easier. I thought that going to this HBCU would put her in a category with so many different, people like her, that even if your personality sticks out a little bit, it's so many Black people at FAM. You gotta find somebody that you connect with and stay friends with. Like, I'm still friends with some of my college buddies. Like, we were just walking that campus 2 weeks ago. So I didn't understand how to explain to her that struggle. And now that she's graduated and she got a job up there, I said, you definitely can't come home now because I want you to get associated with your career. She got a job in her degree field 2 weeks after graduation. So she's almost a year through that job already. And I told her, this is what you went to school for. You can't just come home and go
work in another field just because you're here and be living with me, and now we're fighting and arguing and whatever, because we are the best of friends from afar. We get in that same house, and I don't, after a couple days, I'm like, you don't got nowhere else to be, because we butt heads personality wise. We're both only children. We don't always see eye to eye because we have two different personality types and social types and all of that kind of stuff. So I will not sit here and say it has gotten so much easier, because there are times we may go 2-3 weeks and I don't have a clue if she's still breathing, and then there are other times where we talk every other day. So for everybody that sit out here and say, I talk to my kid every day and we laugh and we joke and we scream and we yell and we dance and we cook, not everybody. And it don't mean that I don't love her, because I absolutely love everything about her. But I don't always want to talk to you. I'm not always worried about every little thing you got going on, because you're an adult now. Go live your life. Go suffer through the lack of friendships. Go figure out why that dude stopped calling you back. I can't sit here and read the script to you. You got to go through this and figure it out for yourself. It's a reason that little dude won't call you back or text you back. And I can't sit here and tell you exactly what you did wrong, because nobody told me. I had to figure it out. So sometimes I stay back because I want her to learn how to be an adult the rough way. And that's a problem that I see a lot of parents do, that they moved on from being helicopter parents that just hover over and got to see what their kid is doing, and now they're lawnmower parents. And that means if their child isn't finding their way, they create that path. They go and pick out friend circles. They go and pick out little play groups. They go put them in a camp specific to the very thing they're interested in, and say, okay, now everybody in this camp likes science. These are the kids that you stick around. You cannot keep being on for a parent, because at the end of the day, the world is not laid out that way. What happens is they get older, they can't figure it out, because we've always put them exactly in the circles they need to attain that taste. I can't do that. So with this 8-year-old, I'm raising now a little man, because I'm raising my godson, or at least I have guardianship of my godson. So that's how I say I'm a parent of 2, even though I only birthed 1. But I love him very much. And I told his grandparents when I took over that responsibility that whatever happens to them, I got you on that one. I'm guaranteeing you I got one, because he is one of 7 siblings. But I only took that one when he was a newborn, and we built our bond that way. So he's 8 years old. It's very, very different. First of all, being older, more mature, and now raising a little black man. Because every story on the news, all I think to myself is, okay, don't be like that. Okay, don't let him be like that. But I also don't want to be a lawnmower parent, because realistically, the world is not going to see him the same way that I see him. So I teach him it's okay to be emotional, because I don't want him to go all frantic and get all angry. So it's all right to cry a little bit. It's all right to speak your mind if something is bothering you, but do it with respect. I don't want anybody to auto, but I also don't want them to think they walk over you. These are all
I don't know. I'm breaking up.
that I never way, because the world has changed, and so have I. So these 2 versions of motherhood with the capital hood are very, very different. That's it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that. I hadn't heard of that. I've heard of the helicopter parent, but I never heard of the lawnmower parent. And I like that. Wow.
I I'm kind of with you, Lex. I have the 23-year-old who is grown, just graduated college. She never left home, but I never really forced her to leave home. I was all for it. Whatever you want to do, because I feel like when you turn 18, you grown, right? So what you want to do? You want to go? You got to go to college, whether you here or you there, wherever that is. Go. Her dad and I have always made it our business to make sure that she's been well traveled. So it wasn't, I get what you're saying about get out of the Tri-County area, because some of us stay in this Tri-County area and we just won't leave it. And there's so much more of this world, this country that we can see. So she went, she did her thing. We
Right.
had some trials and some tribulations. She's not perfect, but I can honestly say I thank God for the child that I have, because I listened to some horror stories from other people. And I'm like, oh Lord, I don't even know if I could, if my child, if I'm a firm believer in I brought you into this world and I'll take you out. And I'm okay with doing jail time for either saving your life or taking it. So take that how you want. But yeah, that was me. But for her, thank God she figured it out. She got her little path. She's doing her little thing. Every now and then I might step in because, again, she's young and she doesn't have that guidance. I don't need her to know the struggle, but I need her to understand it. So I explain it. I try my best to break it down. I think I have tagged in Q at some point. I have tagged Nidra at some point, to help out with this little girl, because that's her godmama over there. But then that's also her godmama over there as well. So, we've all been there. It literally takes a village on top of family and friends. But now having her graduate college, she's been working in her field even before she graduated, thank God. And now she's just excelling to do whatever else. And it's working out for her. She's figuring out life the best way she can. I listen. I don't necessarily always offer advice because, again, I need her to do it, and it's not my life, it's hers. So she got to figure that thing out. But again, you got to crawl before you can walk. Yeah, you might fall down. Mama gonna be there to help pick you up, but not immediately. I need you to try to get up on your own and figure this stuff out. The 10-year-old's a little different. When I was with Alani, I feel like we grew up together. I didn't know. It was trial and error. Oops, okay, I guess we won't do that again. And we figure it out. When it comes to this 10-year-old, Lord Jesus, y'all pray for. It's only been a week, and it has been the longest week of my life. I need help. I need medication. I need God. I need y'all. I just, Lord help me, because I realize the older I get, I don't have the patience that I did, I guess, with Alani. Now that I'm older, because again, Alani's like my grown broke roommate. I ain't really got to do much. I'm a homegirl. We cool. She is that toy that batteries is included, where my niece Carly, batteries are not included. And I got to go find the batteries to put into her. And it's a lot. I commend y'all with multiple children, because I'm not built for this. I need help. I hate to quote R. Kelly, but this ain't me. Okay. I am over here fighting for my life. Like, help me. Okay. God, between the social media and trying to, get her to understand that other people's opinion of you is not your business. And she's so hell-bent on hair and how she look and TikTok dances, and we can't go to a store because you over here every 5 minutes doing something. Like, stop. Just stay still. Like, there is no book that explains this TikTok thing that you got to go through with these children. There's no understand. Like, we grew up Saturday morning eating cereal, watching TV and cartoons, right? These kids don't do that. And I don't understand why. We got it in cheer. Alani did competitive cheer. Okay. Carly's doing rec cheer. Okay. But it's different. It's different realms. I'm one person. I still got to work. I'm still, like, I'm a middle-aged one. I'm having a whole mental breakdown, y'all. Help me. Okay, it's hood, it's ghetto out here. Okay, it is not safe in these streets for us with these little children. It's not. We need help. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead, y'all. Go ahead. I'm gonna take a break. Go ahead.
Breathe, Shaka. Breathe.
I might need to go get something a little harder than this, because it ain't.
I don't know. I think my perspective is completely different, and I think this is what Trevor always get on me on, of having these different perspectives. Because, my daughter probably had a different mother, right? My daughter had the inexperienced mother, the passing on and parenting like my parents parented. So a lot of what I perceived and thought was the right way was just me modeling something that wasn't really formulated and created from any type of structure or organization. Like my parents were winging it, like most of our parents are. And I think because we do know better and we can do better, we cannot afford to wing it, right? Because, half of what the experience is trial and error, but some of the trials and error that we've experienced, we don't really want our children to have that trial and error because it sets them back. And what would it look like for them to live within their birthright? Like their birthright is XYZ. We were taught that we didn't have a birthright. And so therefore, everything that we've gotten is out of the struggle. And can it just be possible that our ancestors and our parents have fought for us to come to this point and we don't have to be in the struggle? And it's this constant messaging that I have to work so hard and I have to be deserving of this life because I am such an ailment to society. Like it's the story of how Black children are raised in comparison to white children. It's a stark different. And it was really systemic. It was really put into our communities. It was really filtered through our churches of how we condition children and teach them to be amicable and respectful and don't be too loud, don't make too much noise, to be seen and not heard. A lot of that has to do with the conditioning of the Black mind and the Black community of what they want us to be, and not understanding of how we live within our birthright of just being humans and inhabiting the land and having free will just like everybody else has free will. So it's kind of like that delicate dance between keeping on to the things that worked and really revising the things that just don't work from a humanistic perspective. Because a lot of what we were taught was taught from a conditioning, crop, grooming, maintaining perspective. Like, so, and a lot of that stuff was passed on because, I think about, hear you say about the lawnmower parent. But for me, it's the opposite because I don't want my children to be anywhere that they're not accepted. I don't want my children to have a perception that they have to bend and mold to be something for somebody else to make them comfortable. Because that's what we were taught. We were never taught to be, just be who we are. So yeah, my son definitely is going to go to the camp with the kids that are, going into engineering because that's what he said he wanted to do. I always wondering, like, if our parents were able to support us with what we naturally came into this world wanting to do, because he loves electronics. He's weird in his own way, but he's been building things since he was 3 years old. So, I'm like that opposite parents. Yeah, I'm going to put them in the communities that are supportive of them so that they get that self-confidence, because the misconception is that we gain self-confidence when we're older. All of your self-confidence is developed and established in your childhood. And so it's really hard to work backwards to give them that self-confidence because they learn to trust the world as early as 0 to 6 months. Because they are depending on somebody to meet their needs. If they're crying, they're hungry. Because when a baby cries, you go through a series of things that you have to look for to see what they need. And then in the absence of that, when that child doesn't find that comfort, they are taught to self-soothe, self-regulate, and take care of themselves. Like there's just been studies of babies that have not been held for 6 months in comparison to babies that have been held for 6 months, just the way that baby matures and grows up. So it's a lot. I say 0 to 18, do what you got to do for them kids. You turn this world upside down, because after 18 to 99, that's just the adult that you're going to give to the world. With all of the trauma, with all of the hurt, the pain, they're going to have to walk around with that and eventually unpack that. But we didn't know that before because, like you said, Q, therapy is introduced in our community out of compliance. It's not introduced in our community as in preventative or, just us trying to figure out this thing called life and what, the science behind everything. Like we weren't given any proactive strategies. We weren't told about things on the front end. It's all of this figuring it out and building the plane as we fly. And it's like now we're at the table and we don't have to build the plane as we fly anymore. So it's kind of like, what can we do differently to parent differently? Because we don't have to do it the way our parents did it. Because the reason why we're suffering, the reason why we are where we are, is because they parented us this way. And so all of this, what we're experiencing, is a direct manifestation of that, of what our community is like, and why they're like, oh, these kids are so terrible. But we're their parents. We're parenting from a model that was flawed. And so we're trying to figure it out instead of saying, you know what, we need to start over and do something different. So these kids aren't out here being terrible children because their parents are so great. And it's not our fault because our parents wasn't parenting us, because we were latchkey generation. So it's a lot of unpacking that needs to be done to figure out how we move forward. And Shaka, they told us that watching the television was going to turn us into Satan's spawns. Mm-hmm. Oh, don't let them kids watch that television. They're going straight to hell. That's how we feel about TikTok. That damn TikTok. Like, can you get off the phone?
I love TikTok. I'm not even gonna lie. I fall in love with TikTok.
Every generation has their generation problem.
Right. I could get on TikTok and be on TikTok for 2 hours. I'm like, wait, what happened? But it's just, I guess for me, I was so used to, because my niece is coming from like zero structure, zero rules, zero. It's just long as she occupied and she not bothering us, then let her do what she do. And I'm like, no, you need to read a book. You need to clean up. You need to do these things. We need to go here. You got like Alani can only function on a schedule. When Alani does not have a schedule, she's like, Mom, somebody said it's gonna be here 5 minutes. It's been 10. Like, what do I do? I'm like, girl, relax. It's okay. Yeah, but we gotta go because we got time. And Carly is the total opposite. She's just like, I guess they're not coming, so I guess I'm not going. All right, I guess I'll just like, no, we still got things to do. Like,
yeah. The show go on, baby. Let's go.
Again, help me. Okay, I'm gonna call each and every one to help me.
Listen, I got a whole 17-year-old getting ready for senior year. Can I please get a round of applause that I made it? And I made it to 17 in her senior year.
You did it.
And I feel like this is like a Benjamin Button thing. Now I'm going back to infancy because, baby, when I got that senior package,
expensive, huh?
Talk about it.
I literally, like, when she gave it to me, I just looked at it. I looked at her. She was like, I was like,
y'all had
like, what is we gonna do?
Moment.
Like, I'm sitting here like, ma'am, you brought this to me, and I literally just sat here and dished out $790 for 2 rings. And now you bringing me something about senior package.
Yeah.
I said, you got to give me a break. Just give me a moment. Let's not talk about nothing senior until June, July. And then, like, I will say this and I actually, I stopped therapy when she turned 15 is when I stopped, because I still was having, those postpartum moments, and, from that day up until she was like 14 years old. And I tell people all the time, I don't think I raised her. I think she just figured it out on her own, because I remember her at 6. I remember her when I came downstairs. I remember her ironing her clothes, and I'm looking at her like,
at 7.
Who taught you to iron your clothes? First of all, who taught you how to plug it up and make sure that, and like, who taught all of this stuff?
Batteries
I remember, one day I came home and she was washing clothes. How do you know the difference between, colors and white and what goes? Like, I have questions. Who taught you this stuff? Because I don't remember doing this stuff. And, she's been waking herself up for school since she was in 1st grade. And I'm telling you, no lie.
Same.
I've never had to wake her up to say, hey, she will come knock on the door, say, hey, Mom, ready to go. And I just fall in line. Like, I just get up and, okay, drop her off to school. I have to make sure, like, is this the school that you go to? Because I don't remember, I remember registering you, but did you register stuff for somebody else's school? I got questions. Like, how did this all come about? And I just had to just like, sit down. I remember I told my therapist one time, I said, I don't think, I don't think I parented. I don't think I parent. I just think I'm just present to make sure that she doesn't kill herself or something. Because she has everything figured out. Honestly, she does. She literally has things figured out. Like, she'll come to me and she'll be like, so mom, like now she's working, and then she has cheerleading practice right after she goes to work, and then she has another set of cheerleading practice. She's a junior coach. So I'm sitting here like, okay, how are you gonna get home from work? How are you gonna get to cheerleading practice? And how are you gonna leave cheerleading practice to go to the coaching practice? Like, how's all this stuff? And she's like, oh, I figured it out. Oh, okay. I mean, as long as it doesn't require me to have to leave work early. Where do I where do I go in all of this? And she
She'll
was like,
tell
oh,
you.
well, yeah. She's like, well, if I need you, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
hey, whatever we need to do to get you to point A to point B, let's do it. But she already has things figured out. So yeah, it has gotten easier. But financially, I have a
Mm.
daughter who likes who is like when we moved away for 2 years, she was with the white girl. So the white girls didn't require bundles and lace fronts and braids that's like the length of a veil on a wedding for a bride. She did none of this stuff was interesting to her. So then we came back home and she's hanging out with the ratchets, like bundles and long braids, and got to get her nails done that cost $125, and got to get her eyebrows arched, like all this stuff. And I'm like, like where, like how
Lash.
does this now she won't wear lashes. Sister don't she don't do that. But what she did do was sign herself up to learn how to do lashes. So my baby is certified to do lashes.
Oh,
She signed herself
oh,
up.
uh-oh. Oh,
She
she
sure
is
is.
ready. These big old eyes is ready, honey.
Honey, and she
Wow.
we working on, she a little lefty, so be a little
That's
patient. It's a little different, but she has like, this is the fun time. We're really having a great time. I'm learning different more things about her personality, things that she
don't you,
likes, things that
but
she
don't you
she
like the
definitely.
adult version of her that's starting? Don't you
I
enjoy
don't
it?
know because I'm
You
like,
know,
now
I
I
enjoy
want to
it.
experience. I want to experience the 4 year old Maya. I want the 4 year old Jemiah back. I want that little girl back because that little girl. I remember when we started to rebond, and she used to love being around me. She liked to talk to me, and she likes to hug, and she liked to give me random kisses. Now this little child, this little girl, this teenager now, child, I barely get a text. I barely get a, like, or she'll send me stuff like, what's up, sis? What's going on? That's her
What?
response back to me saying, good
But
morning, Toots. Hey, sis,
but
what's up?
but literally that's my
It's
daughter
a
and I.
home
Like she
girl.
literally is my best friend. She really. I
We
mean, we
ain't
do the same
friends.
thing. We just, but we are. That's my broke best friend. I'm a dog. That's my peach. She ain't got no lunch. That's my
We ain't
peach.
friends. Because I
That's my
tell her all the
peach.
time, my friends don't leech off of me. My friends do not mooch off of me. When we go places, my friends sometimes pick up the tab. If I'm
Yeah,
always the
no.
one picking up the tab, we're not
Well,
friends.
well, mine did pick up. She's been picking up. Let me tell you what she did. We went grocery shopping, right? We was there. We was grocery shopping. I did not expect this at all. Bill came up to like $310 or something. I go to swipe my card. She's like, "Mom, I can give you 150 on the grocery bill."
Okay.
I
This is
can't
why I
wait.
mess with you.
I
Yes,
can't
it raised
wait.
you.
No, sis will send me the link to
You
the
said we're not there
Amazon. No, we ain't there yet. Cause sis will send me the link to the 30-inch wig and be like, when can we order this?
When can
First of
we?
all, sis, we ain't
We.
order no 30-inch wig
You
because if
speaking French now?
your mama can't afford 22 inches, you ain't for to be one. We can't afford 30. So no, we ain't for to get 30. So you need to go ahead and scale them inches down to at least
I drink
20.
to that.
Like, it's some things I'm cool with, but it's a whole lot of things I ain't cool with. And 30 inches ain't, that's one of the ones we ain't
I
gonna be
feel
cool
like
with.
I messed up with Alani because I like the nicer things, so I was buying her the nicer things, and now
So that's
she
what.
expects the nicer things, but still on my dime. Like it was
Oh
funny.
honey,
It was so stupid. Why do we have to buy garbage bags? That's dumb. It's dumb now that you got to go out and buy garbage bags. But when I was buying it, you could just doing whatever it was you were doing. It wasn't stupid. It wasn't a stupid idea then, but now it's dumb.
Oh, honey. So my MCM bag, so since she started working, her first day of work, honey, I said, okay, I'll treat you to breakfast, whatever. So we get ready. She's like, oh, I want to go to Starbucks. Wait, why we want to go to Starbucks on my dime? Starbucks is
Child,
expensive. Are you? Because for a drink, you paying like $10. So I'm
I,
like,
I
okay, you
done
know what? I'm gonna let you. So we
a
go to
lot of
Starbucks, get her food, whatever. So then I was like, okay, drop her off at her little job. Oh, have a great day. And then
little
I
job.
see she has my MCM bag.
Us. It's us bag. That's what Alani tell me. This us purse.
Our
It's us
bag.
bag.
So
Our
It's
bag.
the
us.
right.
the
Yes.
the
Us bag and
ratchet
purse. Yeah.
the ratchet mother in me rolls down the window and say, where my dang bag at? And she was like, oh, not at my workplace.
Right. Why would you do that?
Simmer down, mom, relax. I was like, so what am I supposed to take my work stuff? My thing's going that bad. What? And she was like, you got another bag.
You got other bags, mom,
Right,
So
sis.
I
mom.
text
Simmer
her.
down.
I said,
Simmer down.
look,
Silly.
I said, look, mama, you ain't finna be sitting around here putting on for the masses because you think you got your little no, not today. And she was just like, I will bring you back your bag when I get off work.
Ooh,
Now
wow.
see that right there? If we could swing on a child in the middle of a text,
That would have been
I
a
would have gave her
swing.
two. I would have been. If she would have got a two piece of the biscuit. But I have fun. I definitely have a lot more fun with her now. Although we don't talk much, um, we don't talk much because she's in her social circles, and her friends are very reliant on her. They like her opinions about things. She's heavily involved in her school. She's a cheerleader. She's a senior class treasurer now. She does volunteer. She does all this other stuff. So, I catch her in between her stops. Hey, how's everything going? Or if I haven't heard from her, and I mean, we live in the same house, and some days I don't see her or talk to her. So sometimes I'm like, hey, open the door. Hi, I haven't seen you in like 5 days. How you doing? And she's like, I'm alive. We good. Like, and I'm like, is this how it's gonna be when you go off to college? Like, is this how our relationship gonna be? We gonna be like, hey, how you doing? I ain't heard from you in some weeks. How's life?
The
Are you
therapist in me is
breathing?
shifting all in my seat.
Why?
You know, look, I always tell people I can't tell you where these kids been, but I can tell you which ones end up in my chair. Um, I just think I think I know it sounds okay, for her to be doing her own thing. And that's great. She's gonna be great at it. But I always, just employ parents and just like I do at mine, because I do have a 17-year-old too. So I hear you. I definitely go in the room and check in my daughter. But I realized I had to like model for her what I wanted her to be once she starts
Mm-hmm.
to become an adult. Because when they get older, they choose to be our friends. Just like I think about my mom right now, and I had to choose to be her friend because I was mad at her for a lot of things for a lot of reasons. And but showing her how to become a friend now once that mother role, because it does sunset. I think it sunsets. I think we don't rely on our parents the way that we used to, and the relationship and the dynamics change. And so it's important to get in front of that than for it to just naturally fall by the wayside and not really know what happened. So I do tell my daughter, I'm your mother, but I do want to know what it is to become your friend, because as you get older, they have to choose you, because once you get on with your life, like you checking in on your parents, you genuinely wanting to be around them and genuinely wanting to hang out with them, it's something you have to start now so that they can transition. So I always tell parents, you have to give like their children your me time, right? So everybody has their individual time. Like me and Olivia, we do our nails together. Like that's our time. My son, he has his time. Like we go and get breakfast together, so like they have their individual time. My younger one, he has, when he's going to like karate or something, like everybody has their time, so that as they become adults, they know that there's a part of me that is for them and that's just exclusively
Mm-hmm.
for them. because it before you know it, they got 18.99 to be adults. I keep saying it. So that childhood, and you can reclaim that back. Like I think my daughter is very standoffish too. She don't necessarily give hugs, but I take my hugs, right? Because before know it, she's not gonna even be in this house. But I had to realize, I had to learn to do that because my mom wasn't a hugger. You know what I mean? And you don't even realize the things that you are modeling and actually doing because of what was done to you. So to like push myself over the edge to make sure I reach out to her. Like the younger one, he's a hugger. Like I don't ever, as a matter of fact, I'd be like, another hug. Like he is always, oh mommy, but my daughter, I have to push myself because I realize that, I'm doing what my mom did. So just kind of thinking of, maybe if we had a chance to talk to our little girl and say, what did we really need from our mothers, and give that to our daughters. Because I think sometimes we are giving them what we got, and we have to interrupt that pattern. Because I think when you were saying that your daughter was ironing and, and I can remember being 6 years old cleaning chicken, like being full grown, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but it was, for me, my mom's absence, right? And at the time it was cute, but it made me not depend on people, right? Like I don't need nobody for nothing. I learned to like self-regulate and depend solely on myself, because I didn't feel like I could depend on anybody, because I felt like I was out there in the world just because I wasn't. So it's kind of like the things that we don't know is happening that's going to inform and show up later. I was just listening to your story and I was thinking about me too. So it's not for, directed towards you.
Yeah, because that was totally different growing up.
And I was listening to that and I was like, oh, yeah, she's telling my story too.
And see, my mom is, that's not how we were raised. My mom was a hugger. She was a kisser. She was, she was feisty as hell, but she was, I do remember those moments of, my mom coming in, giving us kisses at nighttime before bedtime, giving us hugs before we left to go to school in the morning. So, of course, I definitely get the whole concept of, especially with her being older now, I definitely make sure I create times like this morning when her went to brunch. And, we invited my mom and we had a great conversation and, definitely check in with her. But I also want, her, because I do definitely cherish those moments where she reached out to me and she's like, Mom, I have a question for you, because she definitely values my opinion. She definitely, wants to know, how, to resolve this. So, Mom, what do you think about that? Now, she's talking about boys and, she think boys are just, but she like them, she likes boys.
Right.
So she's just like,
that part.
Her question is, what is their purpose? What else their purpose besides to just look cute? And I'm like, there's a purpose.
I think that's important to have that conversation because
so we're definitely having those conversations, and I definitely don't cut corners with her. I definitely tell her the truth. I tell her, she knows about, her and I's past relationship and how we got to where we are and stuff like that. So, I definitely take this time now that she's older to have, and I tell her, hey, we don't have to talk about everything every single solitary day, but just know that I'm here. If you need me, I got you. I'm not going to be mad if you need to, talk to me. And, she make mistakes and I tell her it's a part of life. Now, how are we going to correct it? And that's where I will step in and I help her as much as I can. But, I tell her, if you don't give me an opportunity to be there to support you and help you, you kind of, hey, whatever my reaction going to be, that's what it's going to be. So just tell me straight up what's going on so that I can be of support to you. And, I will tell you this, she is very forthcoming with all kind of crazy stuff, especially stuff that she hear from her friends. And she's like, well, that don't sound right, but let me ask my mama. Cause her friends be like, you talk to your mama about everything, and she be like, cause you don't talk to your mama. That's the problem.
Right. That's the
That's the problem
problem.
with y'all now. Y'all don't talk to y'all mamas, and if you talk to your mamas, then you probably wouldn't be doing so much stupid stuff. And I'm like,
Come on,
hey,
Gladys. Come on, Gladys.
you ain't got no kid. You can't be talking to people's children that way. You don't have no children, so I need you to. And she be like, cause it's stupid. They just dumb. They be doing stupid stuff. Okay,
Oh my
but I don't
God.
need you to.
Go ahead, Lex.
Girl,
Yeah.
I
that's
keep
something
telling
else. Something
Trevor,
else. She
Trevor, it's
is
not a
something else.
detriment.
Yeah.
No,
Nene,
I
can
would
you
say we
read
are
it?
friends. We're cool, but we ain't. She ain't my. I ain't gonna be gossiping with her. I mean, we do
Not
post
in the
tea. She's post tea
replacement of
about
being
school
her
stuff.
Right,
parent.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Right. I
no,
think it has to
she
happen
ain't my friend.
simultaneously. It was not like our
Hmm.
parents was like, I'm not your
Divorce.
friend.
I'm not your little friend.
Right. Our
Yeah,
parents was like very mean about it and adamant
Yep.
about it, and they were like hard line in the sand.
yeah.
Whereas we are like, I'm not your girlfriend. We're
Right.
not going to be clickety, clackety, clickety,
Right.
ticky, tacky all the time. There are some times where
Hmm.
I'm going to be the authoritarian in your family, but I do want you to know that I am your friend. Like I want you to choose me as a friend, because think about it. Like, I got siblings. I mean, not siblings, but you have family members. Like, if we wasn't related, I would not do you. You know what I mean? Like,
Hello.
there's some people, like, would you really still be their friends?
Child.
It's a whole
You
nother
ain't
episode
said
right now.
nothing but the truth.
Sometimes blood ain't it.
That's a
Child.
whole nother episode.
Oh,
Okay. We write that down, Nene. We gotta
I
talk about
I'm writing it down. Damn it. Boss
Say
man, can I say damn it? Legend, did you have something you wanted to say?
Lex. Go ahead. I mean Legend. You
I
had
did,
something?
and it was, I'm sorry. I know I've been missing a few episodes in speaking, but I still watch y'all. But this is in response to Straight Talk with Trevor's question about do we a friend, and this is this is a this is a moment that I had back in the past, because I didn't get my confidence level until high school. Mostly when those contacts were purchased, because those glasses was not make. At the same time, once my daughter got to like that high school range or whatever, I was always like that cool mom. So whatever her or her friends needed to talk about or needed to say, let them come say it to me. You can come talk to me about these things. I know you don't get to talk to your mom about this at home. And they were like, oh my God, Miss Lex, I love you. And the true, I think one of the true moments that we had as far as the openness to the friends, graduation night, her senior year, they all wanted to hang out and, go and visit the universe. I'm not going to say it on YouTube because I'm not going to jail, but I knew already that these kids floated in the clouds quite often. You know what I'm saying? I know what y'all be out here doing. So I said, let me
Hmm.
just go ahead and put this on the table. I had a party at my house. I said, you guys can party freely. I'm going to go find me something else to do. I said, because I'd rather y'all all just be here in one place, do what
And
you
be
gonna
safe.
do, order some pizza and wings, and be safe. Because there is no way that I wanted to have to put orange and green on her obituary before she even walked that campus. I just was not
Mm.
comfortable with that. I'd rather all of y'all come and hang out at my house, do whatever little stuff y'all gonna do, come down a little bit, and then go home. I know it happens anyway. Now, I didn't open it up for no orgies or nothing like that, but it I know that other stuff that y'all be out here doing. And they were like, your mom really cool with that? Like, nah, we could just go to a park. I had to send out a text message. I said, per her mom, it is okay. I'm telling y'all it's fine.
I'm not going to be sitting here listening to your conversation or none of that kind of stuff, but I just don't want y'all hanging out, riding around. Why I say that that sort of thing was beneficial, because all through those kids' college experiences, they call me, they text
Yes.
me when
Yes.
something is going on at school and they don't know how to, like, what you think about this before I call my parents because they don't
Yes.
da 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 da. I became a safe space for them. So yes, being their little friend could have been bad, but for me, I'd rather just be that open book that you express yourself to, because I never had that outlet. My mom still doesn't
Yes.
really listen unless it's tea. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, she don't really talk to me. She don't really ask me about how I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. If it's not something juicy that keeps her attention, that lady will sit there and play on her phone the whole time that I'm sitting there. You know, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not that she's a mean person. She
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't think she realizes the lack of, like, openness and expressiveness that I'm allowed to share with her. Like, she
Yeah.
just doesn't give me that. And it makes me crazy because I hear her pouring it out for other people or other people's kids or, you know, the little cousins in the family, you know, but I'm like, I played I played softball almost the whole time I was in high school, and I can still count how many games you came to. So what? We weren't good. I barely missed practice when my daughter was competing. I barely missed, like, I think I can still count maybe 2 games that I missed of anything she's ever played. And that's from dance, cheerleading, swimming. I was always there. Here I come with my little tent and my cooler, and I'm right there for every single meet. So
Yep.
why I say it's important that you have that friendship with them, I still maintain respect. Like, you still not gonna walk
Yes.
in here cursing around me.
Yep.
I am almost 43 and I still don't curse around my mom. That is one thing I did distill in her. Um, you're still going to talk to me with respect. And at the point that you feel your anger escalating and you can no longer control yourself, there is a bright red end button. And you can talk to that dial tone because I will hang up. And you can try again when you calm down. I don't yell at her or threaten to hate her or anything like that because my anger escalates sometimes. And I know, you know, it can be hard to reel in, but I'm much calmer than she is. So I
Yeah.
had to understand the fact that that's her personality type. And she can't always bring herself down quickly enough to say, oh, but wait, this is my mom. So now that she's an adult, I am still your homie. And you can still talk to me about, you know, who hung up on you or who stood you up for a day, anything like that. But if you get upset because you don't like my response to it, if you can't control yourself, we'll talk again another day. And I'm going to go back to my life. So you just have to find that balance. The
Yeah.
only other thing I wanted to say, because I know all of us have been talking for quite a little bit, and Lanidra's
Yeah, we
been,
don't end
excuse
so.
me, Nini's been so quiet. And, you know, as I host this and letting it go, you have that little 8-year-old. And an 8-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy is still something very, very different. And I say this in all the strength before you call this show off. Baby, please be patient because every single difficult thing you think you've experienced with that little girl is about to square itself.
Lord
And it
Jesus.
is
I'm not
intense.
ready.
I didn't like my child in middle school. She could have moved
At
out
all.
to climbed in a boat. I didn't
Hello.
even like her in middle.
At all.
I didn't
Hello.
even.
At
That's
Everything.
not
all.
everybody's experience. I did not have that experience. Y'all don't scare her.
And and I was a middle school
Listen,
teacher
Scare
and
her.
understood.
Q,
So
Q was
when
with
my
me.
daughter got to middle school, I got it. I was like, I see why y'all
Q,
mamas didn't like
Q
y'all
was
because
with me,
now,
and she was the same way. She was like, "No, Shaka, don't be like that with Lonnie. No, Shaka, don't be like that with Lonnie." And then when I started seeing her post certain things, I said, "So,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Miss Gladys. Tell me what's going on with Miss Gladys. And she's like, oh, don't come, Shaka, don't even talk to me. Don't even, no, why you got that to me? I just asked a question. When I was going through, you were telling
Listen,
me, no, don't be. Now she's not, don't talk to me. Okay, fine, don't say nothing.
Oh my
listen.
gosh.
When I
I'm not
tell
ready to hear.
you, ooh, honey, and I'm talking
It
about
was
it
a
was the mood swings, and when she got her period.
I'm not looking forward to all of that, y'all.
You'll be
I'm
fine.
talking
listen.
about
You
Don't
have
be
to
scared.
you gotta talk to them dirty, like, girl, you stink. Go take
For
a
real.
bath.
No, you do
Like,
not. No.
Dr. Mia
No,
says,
no,
abort, abort.
No,
in your
abort. Oh
face,
my
like,
God,
no.
no. Dini, if you talk to her
because
about before, if you talk to her before it comes on and she knows what to expect, and you teach her how to groom
I've been
herself. 'Cause
talking
our
to her
parents didn't talk
already.
to us about
that
it.
is not always the
Our
truth, Dr.
parents did
Mia.
not talk to when
That
we
is
had
not
to go through
always the
it.
truth. I will
Right, but
tell
I
you
don't think
that.
telling her that she stank will make her feel any better.
Well, she around me and
I
she stank. I'm gonna tell her how I feel.
I mean, I didn't
listen,
have the stank conversation, but it was more like we talked about it. She has carried like something in her backpack since she was 9 because we just didn't know when it was gonna happen. And the doctor was like, "Oh, it's coming, it's gonna happen." It's like, okay, the day that it happened for her, it was a very stressful day. But I will say, I'm very proud of my kid. She got it late. She got it at 13. She was the first day of cheer practice. I mean, it was the first game of middle school. It was the first day of competitive cheer practice. And she came in my bathroom that morning, getting ready to drop her off to school. I'm going to go to work. And she was like, Mom, I think I got my period. And I was like, wait, what? So I was like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so we're going to spend the day together. We're going to talk about women things. We're going to go to Starbucks. We're going to do all this stuff. And I'm like, I got a meeting at work. I can't take
They
off
can't
today.
do
Wait,
it.
you sure? And she was like, I was like, so what are you going to do? And she's crying. She's like, this is not going to defeat my life. I'm going to go on with it. I was like, yeah, you do that. And she went and she did her thing, and I was stressed, but we talked about these things ahead of time. And it was still like the one thing I will say we didn't discuss, which I didn't think about. When she ended up getting a clot and she didn't know what it was when it came
Ooh.
out. And she thought she was dying. She was like, my insides are falling out. And I was like, oh God, no, baby, they not. But again, if we didn't have that relationship of me being
She
her
knows.
friend, she wouldn't talk to me about it. So I can
Yeah.
honestly say, even at 23,
I burn it.
me, knowing, I'm not gonna say I'm her best friend and I know everything about her, but I probably know about 85% of what happens in her life. And I think that that's a great ratio compared to some parents that I know and even family members where they know nothing about their kid. They don't, I mean, my daughter lives with me still, so yeah, we talk every day, but not necessarily in depth conversations. It might be like, hey, have a good day at work. Hey, how was work day? Okay, it was one of them days. All right, look, I ain't in the mood. Okay, cool. She in her room, I'm in mine. We good. But then there's some days where we're just nonstop chatting it up. And I grew up where, like I said, my mom and I, we have a different relationship. And I kind of, different than the most typical relationship. So when I talk to my mama, I might drop a few, bitch, let me tell you what happened today. And the same thing, like I think I'm friends with most of you on social media. And I think you probably seen this poster. I was like, oh my God, gossip sessions with my mama in the morning be everything. And I have that same relationship with my daughter. She'll come and she'll be like, sis. I'm like, oh, sis, what? What's good? She's like, bro, what happened? And we just talking and it's our tea. But I'm not gonna say that we do butt heads because we are two totally different people. And when we butt heads, I'll say to her quick, hey, don't make me pull rank. Like I get it. She curses in front of me. I curse in front of her. That's just us. That's just how my family is. It's not, I don't see that it's a issue for us. It works. But at the same time, I don't, to each his own, you know what I'm saying? But it's out of respect. Now, you're not gonna come in
I'm
here
just
mad and
joking.
have with me. Yeah, no, it's okay. If she mad and got an attitude, she's not gonna come in here and be like, nah, let me tell you, because don't do that because I will
She's
punch
not
you in
gonna
the face.
cut you out.
Like, right, no, she don't curse me out. But if she's explaining a story or if she's telling me if it's some real good tea about something that didn't happen and she done found out that this didn't happen to this person, like, bitch, this done. And I'm like, ooh, nah, what? But again, all out of respect. But I will say I love the fact that she does come to me and she chooses to come to me and share certain
Mm-hmm.
aspects of her life as an adult where she doesn't have to. You know what I mean? That I appreciate her for. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's a detrimental thing that I'm her little friend, in that aspect.
I think for
Yeah.
me,
When she,
we were
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Mia.
if we were talking about for me, the hood of motherhood for me has just been like the balancing act, right? Having three completely different lives to manage, and then the fourth one, a significant other, and then my life. I think that's the part that they don't talk about, is that you
Ooh,
don't
child,
get
that's
to put
significant other. Whew.
you don't get to put anything on pause, like nothing. And if you do, something is going to suffer, and then you got to like kind of figure out what is going to fall by the wayside. So I think for me, like the unspoken hood of motherhood is like, you have to literally be a circus clown. Like you have to be juggling, and they just keep throwing more balls into the juggle, and they like, oh yeah, you got it. And I'm like, no, I just want to drop all of it. I just want to drop all of it. I don't want to juggle anymore. And that's what I was saying, like how I look at my mom, and I'm like, I don't know how she did it, to come home. My mom cooked when she came home. Like, we ate at home. Long John Silver's was a treat on birthdays. That's the only time we went to that, but she cooked at home, and we went to church, and like just to be able to do all of those things. Like, I don't know how she did it. So me, it's the juggling. It's the part of trying to figure out how to manage these lives, right, that I am directly responsible for, because moms are responsible for these lives. We don't get to just check in. You are like directly linked to every single person's life. Like, dad can have some aspects of child number 2 that he touches, and some aspect of child number 3, but literally you are in everybody's life. And not to mention your parents, your aunts, your uncles, the nieces, everybody is tugging at you.
I have a whole cup that says chaos coordinator, and that's what I am for my family. Every issue, every problem, everything, everybody feels like, oh, let's just go to Shaka. She knows. Let's go. Right. I don't know. And then the thing is with me, they kill me with the, hey, Shaka, how is Carly? How is Alani? How is your mom? How is this? What about me? Ain't nobody asking if I'm okay. I am not okay. Okay.
That part.
I'm the oldest woman, and I'm struggling. Okay, struggling. Okay, I make it look good. I make it look easy. It's hard.
I think that's the good thing, Shaka. We make it look good. That's the problem, and you can't let it fall apart.
We don't show how much we're really struggling.
Right? They don't know that we're really struggling.
I say that, and they just like, yo, but you're so strong.
You good. You're doing something.
Well, see, mom. So what my mom does is she, I'm the middle child of 3. So coming up, my mom didn't really, when it came to me, she didn't have to really worry too much, because she felt like I was always figuring it out. So now that I'm in this parenting role, she's a lot more hands-on with me and my daughter. Like, her and my daughter have the best relationship. Like, if it was, if it was, between me, my mom, and my sister, of course I'm going number 3. Hands down, I'm okay with that, because I know my sister, that's her ultimate favorite person in the whole wide world. It's my older sister, and then my mom is her second favorite person. And she said this from as a little girl, and sometimes it interchange, but always my sister is the major number 1. So, now that me and my sister have children, my mom as a grandmother, she is phenomenal. She was a great mother, but as a grandmother, that lady don't miss a beat. But I see how she even grandparents the children. So, she knows that my sister is a lot more, headstrong, and she's more calm, and, have things together, things are structured. And then she know me, I'm all over the place. So it's a very good time where, the little girl, hey, it happens. I'd be tired, and I would literally come in the house and take a shower and just go to sleep and not even remember or think, did the child eat?
Girl, that's gonna happen plenty of times.
And and I'm like, oh my, yeah. And so I'm like, I wake up And I'll go check on her, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Jemiah. Oh my God. And she looking at me like, are you okay?
Right.
Cause, and I'm like, oh
I'm good.
my
Call grandma real quick. I
Yeah.
yeah. And she was like,
Right.
yeah, I text grandma. I text my nana, and nana brought me some food. She said, and my mama throw a little jazz, some of your little piss poor mama, but she'll be like, she'll tell me behind the next day,
Yeah.
how dare you go in the house
Right.
and that don't feed the child. The child, she hungry like you hungry. Did you eat? And I'm like, hey, I don't remember eating
I
myself,
don't remember
but hey,
if I ate.
that part, but she, they have that relationship where, my mom don't make me feel like I'm a bad parent. She'll be like, she'll talk trash, but then, she'll be like, well, your mom has been working and she's doing this, so, give her, she ain't forget you. And, and then I'll wake up, oh snap, the little girl didn't eat. And I'll go in the room and I'll be like, Jemiah, and she's like, yes, are you okay? And I'm like, I didn't feed you. She's like, it's okay. Nana gave me food. I'm like, oh Jesus, because Lord Jesus, but it was parenthood, the hood of parenthood. Listen,
It's the worst hood I've ever lived
The
in.
hood.
It's the worst hood I've ever lived in.
this has
It's
been
rough.
I tell people all the time, I am going to write a book on my parenting in terms of just my story. She was with her dad when she got her menstrual, and that's a rare sighting period. So I remember she called me and she was calm, and anybody that been around her knows her demeanor. She real quiet, and
Yeah.
she say, "Hey, mom." I said, "Hey, Toots, what's going on?" She's like, "Nothing. Justin is tripping." And I'm like, well, what happened? And she was just like, my period came on, and I mean, I did everything you told me to do, but he's like stressing. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll call him, whatever. And she was like, yeah. So he was like, well, why would you send her here and her period come on? I said, well, first of all,
First of all, that's
sir,
not how that works.
that is not, thank you. That's not how this works.
It's not her. You said
Like,
to her period
two,
on.
yeah, and he was just
Yeah, go
like,
to your
I
dad.
mean, like, what am I supposed to do? And I said, well, being that she, is within that age group, because she was like, well, she wasn't 13, she was 12. She wasn't. I said she's in the age group where it can happen. So I
Anytime.
prepared her. She has pads. She has, extra underwear. She has cleaning wipes. She has all the good stuff. She knows what to do. She knows how to discard. And I said, so what is the problem? And he was just like, well, I said, listen, sir, at the end of the day, it is inevitable. It was going to happen. Whether it was with you, with me, or whoever, it was going to happen. And I said, and it's not like she asked you to go take her to the store to go get the stuff. She's already prepared. So what are you tripping about, sir? This is stuff that even fathers should know. Fathers should know, as a parent of a little girl, they should know about this kind of stuff. So what do you think
Trevor,
you're tripping about?
Mike,
You hear that,
Trevor,
Trevor? You
Mike,
need to
Mike,
Trevor,
know,
Liam,
Mike, all fathers who are
Right, them,
listening,
my
them ain't the
it
father,
is
two. Them two,
Liam,
no. You
important for
talking about them other
you
folks. Them
to
everybody
two,
in the
no.
chat.
know. It is important for you to, the fathers, I hope y'all listening. It is important for you
Godfathers,
to
uncles,
also
all
be
of
involved in this time in a young girl's life. You need to be involved. You need to know about this kind of stuff. You have to be able to, because you may have a little girl who may be frantic. You got to be able to calm her down. Even learn how to apply the pad, how to change her, as far as how to teach her how to wipe herself correctly, how to discard of her pads. You have to be able to you
Roll
have
it
to be
up
able to
in
discuss
the
this.
napkin.
Roll
Roll
it
it
up
up
in the
in the
napkin,
wrapper
put it in
and
a
in the
plastic
napkin.
bag, and discard it in the trash. You have to be able to do that. This is also going to help her with reassuring that she's doing something correctly, that this is normal.
Right.
Because y'all know when we get older, when that girl period get missing,
or it may
that
not,
part.
or they've learned
Not,
tonight
I
it may
mean,
not.
my
Right,
story's a
according
little
to
different.
tonight, it may
My
not.
story a little
This is the
different.
first time that
May
I've
not
heard
be missing,
somebody
right?
for
Girl,
period. Like
let me
I
tell
didn't know that
y'all.
was a
I was
thing.
No,
4 months
let me tell
pregnant
you. So
still.
it came, and my period came
Hold
on
on,
two
one at
weeks
a time.
before I had my daughter.
Yep.
And guess what? 6 weeks to the day that thing came right back with a vengeance. And I was like, I did not sign up for this at all. 6 weeks to the day.
Yeah, it's the first
6 weeks. So 6 weeks that day is when that something came back on. I
So
said,
that's an
boy,
urban legend.
oh, I'm definitely I'm ready to tell my story lifetime.
You are an urban legend. I
How
gotta tell
about we
people.
need to write us a motherhood book, pour your heart out, the hood of motherhood, and each of us just have our own chapter.
Oh, I got it.
Hey,
I might
I'm
need
down for
two.
that.
I might need two.
I'm definitely gonna need
I'm gonna get
about five
started.
I'm gonna need at least
because
two.
my baby daddy story. Ooh, Jesus.
Or we can make it could be a series. Each of us have our own
Yes.
little series
Oh,
within
yeah.
that works.
Yeah.
It's
Because I
whatever.
might
I'm
need about
down for
3 chapters
whatever.
myself.
But yes,
So
honey, when they get older and it's all cute and everything, honey. But when that middle school age hit, baby, and I'm telling you one thing, middle school tea is the best
Oh,
tea.
it's so good.
Ooh, baby,
Oh,
when you
it's
sip
so
that good middle
good.
school tea,
Oh,
ooh, baby. High school
oh,
tea is
it's
watered down. Middle
oh,
school tea is
oh.
top
It was
notch,
correct.
top
Was it not
shelf.
better? Was it not better than high school tea? Middle school
Oh yeah.
tea was the tea. Oh, oh,
Yes, absolutely.
wow, y'all a mess.
Unfiltered, unwatered down.
Wow,
When
y'all,
I
y'all.
say she used to come home and be so excited to tell me what happened in middle school
yeah,
and
I
what
was
was
right
going on.
there.
Sometimes she would just text to me and we have our little code where she'll just send me the frog with the teacup
Mhm.
and I'd be like, ooh, back with the eyeballs. I'm here. What's up? What's
Right.
so
I always do
teaspoons?
the eyes. I'd be like,
Yes, because I'm ready. But high school tea,
it
it's
was all
it's
right.
it's
It's all
stale.
right. It's all right. But middle
It
school
ain't
tea,
about
I was
nothing.
yeah.
Middle
All
school
right,
tea was
y'all.
popping.
We're coming up on 3 hours. This was a long one,
Oh my
but
god.
I have a couple of I have a comment start. I didn't want to forget about it, so I'm gonna come back to it.
Mhm.
Lim asked, what are our thoughts on the older children or siblings having the responsibilities of raising their siblings? Essentially another form of motherhood or
Is he
parenthood. What do
coming
you
for
all
me?
think about that?
I do
No,
not agree with that.
no,
I feel like
no.
I feel like he's coming for me. I feel attacked. I feel personally
Hold
attacked.
on, one at a time.
No, it's
I feel
not an
personally
attack,
attacked.
but you were about the only one that talked about having to care for
Yeah.
siblings. See, I'm an only
No.
child, and my child is an only child. So I've only
Yeah.
babysitted it. I've never had to like full time take care of anybody in the house with me.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think it's
I
a
don't.
difference.
Maybe that's why I don't feel it's
no.
necessary. But
I'm like I know him. It's not personal. I mean it's not, I don't feel like he's
I
taking
know.
attack. I was just joking. But honestly,
Oh,
I will say this. It was it ideal? No. If I had multiple children, would I expect the eldest child to raise the other children? No. But the way that I was raised and the circumstances that were presented to me that were beyond my control, it was what it was, right? So I didn't have much of a choice at that time. I had to raise my siblings, and essentially is what it was. And even though from my oldest, youngest brother, if that makes sense, who I'm 11 years older than, and then I have a set of twin brothers who I'm 14 years older than, and then there's a brother in the middle, and I'm 12 years older than him. They would essentially come to me more so than they did my mom or my grandparents, because to them, I was like their second mother. And even now, this is kind of how I have my niece. My brother got into a situation, whatever's happening with him. I decided it was easier because my niece was having a hard time, and it's just easier. I'm a little bit more stable, of a situation for her. So me helping to raise her isn't it wasn't ideal, but it's what's best for her. My grandparents always made me feel as if family is everything. Family is important. We have to back each other up. There's nothing wrong with you helping out. And did I resent it at some point? I did when I was younger. Now that I'm older, it made me the woman that I am. It made me the woman that I needed to be for little Shaka when she was a little girl who needed that adult, who needed that woman to step up, who needed that parent figure, that older sister, that whatever to be there. Having gone through that experience, that's who I am now as a woman to help out my niece and other friends, family, or strangers in the street or whatever. So ultimately, I feel like it wasn't it, it was my life's path. Like I needed to go through what I went through to become this great, wonderful person that I feel that I am today.
Okay.
I think
All right. I don't have any.
it's not like Shaka's situation where you're talking about an absent parent. I think when you think about those parents that are present and still putting the onus of, you know,
Yeah.
parenting your younger siblings, when it's just like, because I'm going to go play cards, and so I want you to watch your siblings, and that's like a every Friday night thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's different. Then you have the absent parent, and where you have to step up. It's not ideal, because you do form a little resentment, and then when it's time for you to give your own, you're exhausted. You know what I mean? Like, you've parented all your life, and then parenting is a lifetime job. So you parented when you was a child, and now you're parenting as an adult. You become exhausted, and you want to tap out, and you feel trapped, and being responsible for everybody. Like, that could be a very overwhelming feeling. So it's a real hard topic, because it's two types of forced parenting. Adultification is what we call it.
Mhm.
I don't agree with it at all. Like, and I have a friend that, like, it got to the point where I had to step in and I had to remind her that, you made the decision to have more children, not your oldest child, not your daughter. It's not her responsibility to pretty much pass over her childhood and
Mhm.
her social life to babysit because you want to go and be in the streets. We're not doing that.
Yeah. Good
So
for
if you can't find proper, adequate child care, you need to stay home. It's not fair. So, I don't like it. I never had to experience it. I hate reading about it, because at the end of the day, what I talked about earlier, coochie management, it is a thing. You need to know it and you need to understand it.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with one, I don't know what makes you
Right.
think
Right.
that the struggle will get better with two, three, four, five. It's not, baby. Stop.
Okay,
It's
please.
it's not. Just please stop. Because, you know, it's not your oldest child responsibility to monitor. Now have them watch the babies for a little while you go run to the grocery store.
Different.
Okay, an hour or so, that's different. But while you for to go turn up, you got to watch. You got to go do this, that, and the other, and your oldest child. No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Poor coochie management. Do better. So I have one for a reason. I can't
Right.
deal with. I don't know how people.
For one and
I
done.
don't know how people have. Dr.
Multiple.
Mia, I tip my hat to you with the three. I can't do it.
No.
I don't have it in me. I just don't have it in me. No, I don't have it. I'm so sorry. Hey, my mama had three and she made it work with no problems. But as a single parent, I just know as a single parent with one, yeah. And if I can imagine myself with two and three, I don't know. One of them would have had to stay at the hospital. I couldn't bring them home. It's no way possible. So I tip my hat off to parents that have multiple children
Multiple
that are working
children.
collectively together to raise these children. But if you are a
Yeah.
single parent and you got all them kids, I'm looking at you sideways.
Mike already said that coochie management should be a class.
Oh,
It is a
Professor
it is a
Q is
thing,
gonna teach
people.
it.
I would definitely help you all understand what it means, what it's about, and how to do better.
Oh my gosh. This was a great conversation tonight, ladies. We're gonna get ready to sign off. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna put this comment back up in case you ladies have not seen it. Trevor says this might be his favorite Point Heart Out episode. He thanks us for bringing this
We
level
say
of
that every
transparency
time.
society. I know that's because we keep getting better and better. We keep getting better and better.
Yep.
This was an amazing conversation, and I want to thank you, ladies, for your transparency. Like, this was really awesome, and I appreciate you sharing your hearts and literally pouring your hearts out during this episode. So we are going to, because we're at 2 hours and 55 minutes, we are going to go ahead and do our closing remarks. I'm going to start with Legend, and I'm going to have give everybody an opportunity to, I'm sorry, I'm going to get used to it. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to just give their closing remarks before I do the official closing, and then we sign off. So, Legend, what would you like to say in closing as we end this episode?
I mean, although we've had many different opinions and different paths to get to a successful motherhood, I still wouldn't change a thing. I think that yes, I may not like storybook presentation of what motherhood was, but I still love the connection that it brought, via me and my child, and now my second child, who may not have otherwise even experienced true motherhood because of the way that he was thrust into this world. So I like to be a part of that. I like to create that care within his heart. So you may see me again on that round 2 motherhood version, because I'm definitely a whole nother mommy than I was, 20 years ago. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Q, what would you like to share in closing?
Thank you so much, ladies, for creating a safe space for me. Not a lot of people know my story or know my journey, so I definitely appreciate being able to be transparent and vulnerable enough to be able to share that part of my parenting journey. I love my daughter absolutely to the depths of the ocean. I'm sorry, that wasn't right, but
Down where they went.
but I love my baby so much. I am super proud of, the young lady that she is, becoming. I definitely, I enjoy parenting a lot more than I allowed myself to at the beginning. So, any woman that is feeling, different, having an out of body experience or whatever, please speak up. Counseling does work. Therapy does work. And you definitely have to do the work, and you have to be open to it so that way you are able to, recreate that journey and it be a success. So thanks again, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. And that was great advice that you gave, because I think another thing with us, especially in the community for Black mothers, just feeling vulnerable enough to share our stories, but also being able to know that it's okay to seek counseling or therapy if you need it. Sometimes you need more than church and Oprah. You need like professional help, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to feel like you're a failure if anything, I look at that as a strength, knowing that I'm strong enough to admit that I need the help and then seeking it. So thank you so much for sharing that and giving that piece of advice. Dr. Mia, are you there?
I am. I went off screen because that wig has an expiration date. Like, I can't.
Get all serious in this.
I was like, I'm going off screen. I pulled that thing off and I helicoptered across the room. So,
oh my
God. I love it.
So I'm sorry.
I just love the realness.
I love it. I love it.
I would just say that, parenting is not for the weak of heart, and motherhood is not for the weak of heart. I think, we heard a lot of stories of how we were thrown into motherhood. The different stories was reflective of survival, resilience, love, patience, understanding, trial and error. I think that's the beauty of motherhood, is that we get to keep trying to be better. And our children are just such a great reward when we kind of watch them grow, and you don't get to necessarily see your mistakes, but you marvel in who they are. So motherhood could be beautiful, but it is also very, very hard. I don't think anything could prepare me for what it was having these three children, managing these three personalities, these three different wants. Sometimes I'm great at it, and sometimes I'm drowning. It's not as easy as they have told us it would be, nor have they provided us the resources like we thought we would have at our disposal when we decided to become mothers. But I'm in it for the long run. My mother has, definitely come around, and she is I think sometimes I look at her and I was like, she's trying to make up for some of the things that she didn't necessarily do well with the grandchildren. And I also wonder, am I going to do that with my grandchildren? But it's one of those, what we call collateral beauty, right? It's like good, bad, up, down. There's always a yin to yang, but I'm down for it. I'm here for it. I cannot wait um, to see the grown-ups that I produce and give to the world. Can't
Awesome,
wait to meet
awesome.
them.
Thank you for sharing. And Miss Shaka, what is your closing?
Well, my closing is a little bit off of everybody's basically. I feel like first of all, let me just say the real hood and motherhood is that we were lied to. We were hoodwinked and we were bamboozled. Okay. What we were to expect when inspecting is not what we expected. Okay. But I am
Oh,
proud of each and every one of us, those in the chat, those on the panel, those who are watching from wherever you're watching. I feel like the struggle is real, but it made us the women and the men that we are today with raising these children. I still stick by what I say when I say communication is key. Say what you mean what you say in every aspect, in every relationship, whether it's mother to daughter, mother to son, auntie to niece, whether it's, father to whoever, your husband, your wives, your spouses, your significant others, just communicate that. These kids are sponges. They're soaking up everything that they see us do. So make sure if you want, to make, a lasting legacy on, people or the children that you're raising, do the right thing and whatever you take that as. I'm not here to tell you, oh, you wrong and you wrong, you shouldn't do it this way, you should do it that way, but just do the right thing for whatever it may be, because the way that I raised Alani may not necessarily be the same way that I raised Carly, because I just have to, adjust myself to what it is. But like, Legend said, 20 years ago, I was a different mother than I am, being an aunt now, 20, 13 years later. It's different. So just make sure that we are nurturing ourselves. We are not neglecting ourselves. We're making sure that these kids get the best version that we can possibly be for them, because ultimately, when it's our turn and they're the ones that are responsible for taking care of us, what are we leaving behind for them to do?
wow.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh,
Again,
me.
this was
Help. I need help. Help me, please. Okay, pray. Okay, go ahead.
set up a flare gun. Um, Straight Talk, he says that we're approaching the Man Talk Monday hour limits, because they love running their mouth. But this was an awesome conversation, and I look forward to having more conversations like this where we can, that's one thing I do love about all of you that are on panel, that you are transparent and you share the realness. So I look forward to having more conversations about motherhood down the line, touching on other topics that we deal with in motherhood, particularly Black mothers. So I'm looking forward to that. All righty. So thank you, ladies, again so much for joining. Legend, I loved having you on this panel tonight. You were amazing. Q, thank you so much for just being so vulnerable and sharing yourself. Dr. Mia, thank you for always bringing in that doctor talk and just, you listen and rein us in, with the psychology and all of that. And Shaka, thank you for keeping it real as usual. All right, ladies. So I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage, and I'm going to close us out. And I hope everybody has a great night and a great weekend, rest of the weekend. All right. Good night. I drank all mine.
I know. I done put some water in it. It's all right. It's all right.
I'm gonna get information next time and have my glass ready.
Yes.
All right. All right. Good night, ladies.
Bye, y'all.
Good night, y'all. Good night, panel. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
To the chat peoples. Thanks. Bye.
All right, and that's it for another amazing episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. Tonight, we talked about the real hood of motherhood. And as you hear, we kept it real, all the way real. So I hope you enjoyed the stories that were shared tonight, the vulnerability and the transparency. That's what we're all about here on Straight Talk in Straight Talk Society and on Pour Your Heart Out. We're all about keeping it real and just letting our voices be heard. All righty. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Remember, your voice matters. What you have to say is important, and please continue to pour your heart out. I don't have anything else to drink, but cheers. All right. Next time I'll remember to bring my bottle in here with me. But have an amazing night. And with that, we are out. And that's a wrap for another episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations.